Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise! I hope you guys are ready. It is playoff time.
After all the hours, the weeks, the months, it's time. The journey to the grand finals rolls on.
I'm going all the way, and I'm going, yeah, my blood is rebel. I'm going all the way, I'm going to another level.
Oh, what is this?
That is brutal.
This guy is an absolute maniac.
This is absolutely insane. And the rock stars of the Overwatch League continue to crank out power chords.
Oh, snipe. You got rocked.
It's the playoffs, baby. So strap in as only the best of the best remain.
I'm going all the way, I'm going, yeah, my blood is rebel.
We know it won't be easy to hold that trophy, to wear that crown, but if you want it, come and get it.
Welcome back, Overwatch fans. That's right, it's the playoffs brought to you by Xfinito and Monte Cristo here for our second match of the day. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be the LA Gladiators taking on the Hangzhou Spark. And I think this one could be really close. I think all of our matches actually in the playoff could be really close, but these teams have had some interesting roads through stage 4 to get here, haven't they?
Yeah, they really have, and I think this match in particular is very difficult to call.
Yeah.
Especially once we get into some of the interesting starting lineups that we have. But first, we're going to take a look.
Spoiler.
Of course, at our playoff bracket.
Yeah.
The winner of this match will go on to face the Titans in the winners bracket semifinal. But remember, this is a double elimination, so the loser will drop down and hit the Seoul Dynasty, who are still alive here in our playoffs.
Hey, and Seoul Dynasty looked really good too in that match, despite the loss. So I think they could be a big threat in the lower bracket either way. But let's talk a little bit more about the stages for these guys. And Hangzhou Spark, they've kind of been interesting, where they've taken a while to get going in each meta, but once they do, they seem pretty hard to stop.
Yeah, and I think if we look at their history so far in Stage 4, on the right-hand side of your screen, you're going to be looking at the Spark, and they started with 3 losses, but then 4 wins, rattled them off back-to-back-to-back, including that win over the Gladiators 3-2 in Week 4. Now, on the other side, Gladiators alternating wins and losses throughout the stage, pretty inconsistent, but they came off with a really big win against the Valiant at the homestand weekend, and they were part of the 2 other California teams that crushed the Valiant's dreams of entering the play-in tournament.
I know, right? It was like the rest of California versus the Valiant in that one. But man, Sureforce Hangzhou was so good in Stage 4, but that's not really a hero you can rely on so much, it seems, in this meta. So the question abounds now, where do you take the DPS for these 2 teams? You look at the Gladiators as well, their playoff results, they have not yet won a playoff match. We should state they won a best of 5 last year, because we did best of 3, best of 5s for the playoffs last year, but they still didn't win that match against the Spitfire.
No, and in fact, they dominated the Spitfire in that first match, and then a couple days later, Spitfire came back and won 2 matches on the same day.
6-0'd him, if I remember right.
And that was really the weakest we saw the Spitfire in the entirety of their championship run in the playoffs of last year. So lit a fire under them, unfortunately for the Gladiators. Didn't want to poke that beast, it turns out, in the end.
It's going to be tough for them this season too, because you're running into the Hangzhou Spark, and there's a lot of talent on this team, but at the same time, at the DPS role, we've been talking about this a lot, like who's going to play what, and especially that comes down to the Doomfist, who really kind of seems like he's like the DPS hero, the damage hero to play right now. What do you think? Look at that roster. Tell me who's going to play the Doomfist.
Well, you know, I think we're going to start off with some interesting stuff right here, because you do see Adora, Bazzi, and Godsby on this roster coming in at the start. Sasin as well has flexed over to some Pharah in the past. So when we look at this, it's a little strange, right? There's a lot of questions, even though we haven't seen a lot of Bazzi recently. And the Spark were very similar to the Gladiators in that they were really being carried by Godsby on the Hangzhou and the Widowmaker. And so both of these teams, Surefour on the Hangzhou and Godsby on the Snipers as well, and they're going to have to drastically change their play styles if they want to be competitive in this current meta.
Yeah, well, enough surmising, enough theorizing. Let's get this map started. Let's hear it for your home team, the LA Gladiators. And as you can see, Hydration taking the stage along with Surefour, his DPS counterpart. And that's no surprise in a meta that seems to really kind of favor the best Doomfist player. Hydration has played it in the past. He hasn't been maybe our best Doomfist, but no surprise to see him on stage right now.
I think last year, if we go back historically to 2018, he was an exceptional Doomfist player, but we haven't seen a lot of it this year.
Sure.
The other thing to remember is that we see a lot of Pharah on this meta, and Hydration pre-Overwatch League really made his breakout on Pharah.
Right.
So you look at this and you say, if he's still top tier on these heroes in 2019, is he a major threat? It does seem to be a very favorable meta for his player history.
Well, that's the question, because you can see, as you said, he was a very good Doomfist last year, and that was kind of, you know, a specialty pick for the Gladiators that not a lot of other teams had. Now in a meta where everybody's practicing Doomfist, can this guy on your screen keep up?
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was first in damage for 10 minutes, but there weren't a lot of other ace Doomfists outside of like Effect. And it was a bit of an ace in the hole, like this trick that they had up their sleeve, and it worked really well. Can it work now again when they really need him to be a top tier Doomfist player?
That's the question. Let's introduce the other team in this series. How fast can they adjust to the meta this time? Give it up for the Hangzhou Spark.
I think you better bow down.
Gladiators not ready to bow down just yet, but we'll see if Spark makes them do just that by the end of this series. And this is a team that's been, I think, a ton of fun to watch all season long. And you know, we talked about their woes. It has been a bit of a roller coaster with these guys, but you know, I watched a video that the team put out on Twitter this morning talking a little bit about what they've been doing the last couple weeks. They've increased their scrim time. They've been practicing more than they had earlier in the season, really trying to get ready for this meta more than they had in other ones previously. So they're hoping that they can kind of accelerate that period of improvement that we saw in the earlier metas.
And they're really going to have to do that. You mentioned them being slow to adapt earlier. Now what we're seeing is we're going to see Godsby and Bazzi as their starting damage-dealing players. Gushui still going to be anchoring that lineup from the main tank position. But Bazzi's a player we haven't seen a lot of this season. He was temporarily put on their contenders roster on a two-way contract.
Yeah.
Godsby was the hard carry that got them over the hump and into the top 6 in the playoffs at the end of Stage 4. But we have to assume that Bazzi's going to be the one playing the Doomfist. I think you must surmise based on this roster that they're running.
Probably. I mean, Godsby played a little bit of it over the last, month or so, but you got to think Bazzi's probably going to take the reins of that one going into it. But we'll find out. Our map set brought to you by Toyota. We're going to start things off on Busan for control, and then we'll see where we go from there, as is with all of our playoff matches. The loser is able to pick the next map, which is it's a great format because it really does give the best opportunity for close series. And I think, no matter how the format shakes out, we were going to have close ones with the level of the teams we've got in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
It's excited to get started.
And also, as a note, the higher seed does select the first map. So Busan was selected here by the Hangzhou Spark.
Only barely ahead of the Gladiators, though.
Yep.
These guys were 4 and 5 in the standings, so very close, even in the overall league standings, too, as we see them roll out here on Shrine.
Right, Bastion with the Symmetra. So hardpoint composition coming in from the Hangzhou Spark.
Okay.
Using, of course, that Symmetra teleporter to get into position. They're going to stay on the high ground on the opposite side of the drum. So
Interesting.
You can see the Gladiators right now lined up behind the drum, trying to escape the line of sight here from the Bastion. It's on the hard point behind the Orisa barrier, but they're going to have to move forward and contest this at a some point in time. They're going to start to do it now.
At some point, you got to get on there. That's what they're doing. Oh, interact key not bound. Well, Bezzy, they teleport him on top of the drum, and then he goes back. This is how you do it with the Bastion, switching positions instantly with the Symmetra teleporter. I love it. Hangzhou Spark, though, you need to start getting some kills. I like where it's going, but here we go. Ria and Gushui coming up with a couple of them, and a creative start for the Gladiators may just deliver them some early control percent. It's a back and forth battle, but it is the early percent for the Spark.
Yeah, Spark gonna go ahead and get that one also. Nice accretion there,
Beautiful.
Gets the knockdown onto Shore 4. So now we're seeing Hangzhou, you said, you're watching that content saying that they were coming in prepared. They picked Busan, they have a pocket strat ready to go.
That was so cool.
Fun to watch for sure. Have the Batiste there as well to provide the immortality field over the top if they need it for the Bastion. Now look at Gladiators, gonna switch up. Roar now onto the Wrecking Ball, trying to disrupt that hard point. They do have a Coalescence ready. Coalescence useful because it goes through the barriers and allows you to deal damage to that Bastion.
That's right. So can the Spark hold on? Oh, Surefour already down. Big pick for the Spark as Hydration tries to go in. Gets stunned though, lines up a shot, but not able to connect with anyone there. Godsby is down though. Shaz gets one with the Coalescence. A chance for Gladiators to come in. They jump onto the point with the Wrecking Ball, but Hydration's already down, and Rhea there with the Gravitic's Flux to help finish off Roar. A 50% max health damage is quite tough to deal with. That's how you burn down tanks.
Yeah, a lot of ults used though, Doa. As we come into that one, they are going to have the Orisa and the Symmetra ults remaining. Gladiators also big commitment.
Right.
They are going to have the Gravitic Flux from Sigma. That might be enough to provide the disruption onto the Bastion.
We'll see.
You see that teleporter is still placed there by the drum, so they can quickly reposition onto the point. Very disciplined play from the Hangzhou Spark.
Curious to see how Godsby is going to use this Symmetra shield, because a lot of Gladiators can just walk right through it to do damage, right? Avoid trying to deal with that teleporter on the high ground with that Sigma. Gets her place there. There's the Symmetra shield going down. It's going to be the Gravitic Flux. Picks up a lot of people with it. That's a ton of damage. Roar down already, though, as he gets one. The stone thrown in.
Baz
and
is
they're
killing
trying
everyone.
to keep him alive. They're keeping the Bastion alive. And Bezzy going wild, tearing through the entire Gladiators team. And that is going to be Sparks sending it to overtime. And that is the most happy, joyous configuration tank I've ever seen. Takes a rocket jump onto the high ground, trying to finish off the stragglers here on the Gladiators. Trying to get back in there, but Roar just can't do it by himself. Maybe they can get in touch. No, can't quite get there. And it will be the Spark taking the first point on Busan.
100-0 in the end. The Gravitic Flux wasn't able to do much because of the placement of the Symmetra wall.
Right.
Forced them to walk straight into that configuration, the Sentry mode Bastion, or the turret mode rather.
Well, that's the thing, is that you've got that shield, and even though you're against a team that has a lot of ways to kind of jump through that shield at the time, they had the Wrecking Ball, they had the Doomfist, they can kind of just walk through it, but you do that, and if you don't immediately displace the Bastion, you're just dead, which is what we saw there.
Now see right now, different look. Godsby has not been a good Reaper, so this is a different look right now for the Hangzhou Spark. If you're a Gladiators fan, don't be too worried about that first one, because that's going to be a more niche strategy on that point.
Right.
The question is whether they can play standard well enough when Bazzi has to play the Doomfist, and we see Godsby having to play the Reaper.
Doomfist versus Doomfist. Bezzy gets an early shot onto Surefour. He has to back off and get a little bit of healing. Knocked off Rocket Punch back into the fray. He's going to join his team on the point, though. Still on board with Bezzy. Now Gladiators looking from the top down.
Gotta get
Find
on
a way
that
to
point.
dislodge him. They're jumping in there. Sigma shield sent in early. There's a rock from Void. Doesn't connect though, I believe. Meanwhile, behind, trying to absorb a little bit of damage. Doesn't really get any shields out of that though. Gets stunned with the rock. He's in a lot of trouble. Sub 100 health. Oh, he jumped off. Oh, you can float, but you can't fly. IDK with a big pick there. And Spark turning this one around. Can they complete the fight? Surefour's trying to say no, but the Sparks say yes, and they are going to get this point first again.
IDK, we've seen it so many times before. Doa with the big Lucio boop plays, gets another one there. Hangzhou Spark forced the Gladiators to play into them by controlling that point first, and they're starting to come out ahead early in this series, getting the control percent building up first here on Mecha Base.
Yep. See, if only, you know, Sigma had some sort of boots, you know, with like claws on the tip or something, he had grabbed onto that wall, but bare feet just aren't going to do it, man. I don't know. Hydration coming in. Oh, stunned as he Meteor Strikes get out, but can he find a kill out of this maybe? Boy for the kill on the Bezzy already. Comes down, forces the sound barrier out of the Gladiators now. Spark using theirs as well to try to fend off the damage from Hydration. Surefour, meanwhile, pops that Death Blossom, gets one onto Gushue. Hydration down. It's a back and forth fight, but it is going to be eventually the Gladiators getting the numbers on the point. They should be able to flip it.
Yeah, they can. Big investment though. Hangzhou Spark not coming back with too much. Just the Supercharger and the Meteor Strike when it comes to their ult economy.
Right.
Gladiators going to try and get some poke damage down first with barriers inside this choke point. And the Sigma barrier is going to be deployed temporarily to provide cover through the choke.
Sigma ready for Void. He's going to go ahead and use it. Lifts up Bezzy. Damage coming in with that Meteor Strike immediately afterwards. Big Goose finishes off Godsby. Bezzy trying to come in from behind. Gets one onto Surefour before he gets knocked out of the fight completely. Hangzhou Spark trying to hang in this one with Bebe's Coalescence here. Can they push forward though? That's the problem. Gladiators have already almost caught up in control percent right now. Hydration backing away, Meteor Strike again to rejoin his team, it looks like. Taking the low ground, going through the floor somehow.
Gladiators all back right now. Surefour has rejoined the rest of the team as the Spark going to try and get control.
Hydration gets one. And can they get more? They need it. Hangzhou Spark threatening. Roar gets one onto Gushue, so this doesn't look like it's going to be Spark's fight unless they can make some sort of large comeback here. And they're backing away already, so Gladiators taking the lead in control percent here on Mecha Base.
This is what you wanted to see from the Gladiators. It could be a preview of the rest of the series. Hydration being in is pretty clutch right now for the Gladiators, and playing standard, they are looking on this one control point at least like the stronger team.
Hydration just bulldozing his way through the enemy team, gets a nice shot there. Shields are enough to get him back to safety. They've got Big Goose's sound barrier on the Gladiators side too to try to survive this next fight. Rian needs a really good gravitic flux here. Gushue already down. There's Sam's one tank. That's a problem for the Spark. Is it a big Sigma ult? We will see. Big Goose drops that sound barrier, keeps everybody alive, and Cosby already out of commission. Surefour adds a kill to the kill feed as well. Rian knocked away by the rock on the other side. Hydration down, but Surefour there to clean up, as you often see with that Reaper. Now Gushue back again, he's on the wrecking ball, needed to swap to get back to the point in time, but it's 99%, and the Gladiators are on the verge of tying up this map. It seems like they'll be able to, although Bezzy comes into the kill on Surefour. Maybe they can hold on. Cosby goes in.
Two.
He gets two. That's right, well, Shaz anyway, but Roar right back, getting some tank kills now in Hydration. Seals the deal. We've got a tie map here on Busan.
Much better performance from the Gladiators on that, but that's what we expect. You know, Doa, we look at the difference in Reapers between these two teams. Godsby has been pretty poor on Reaper overall. He actually had the lowest damage per 10 minutes and lowest final blows per 10 minutes of all Reapers in the league that had played more than 90 team fights. You look on the other side, Surefour has the highest damage per 10 minutes of all Reapers who have played more than 90 team fights. So Surefour has been excelling on this hero. You bring in Hydration with this long-time specialty in Doomfist, and you expect them to start doing some very good things.
Yeah, when it's quote-unquote legit strats against each other, not those trick plays. Gladiators seeming to have the edge in the damage category, certainly showing that on Mecha Base. Moving on, the Busan train station here to see who can get a ride to the next map.
We don't want to get a ride.
Whoever loses has to stay here, I guess. Oh, Bezzy has to take the ticket from Hydration right away.
Snuck in the back there.
Oh, nice onto Shaz as well. Drops down with the rocket punch. Loads it up again. Bezzy going wild here, man. There's the uppercut, and the rock is not going to save you now. Might as well dig your own grave instead. Void is down, and Hangzhou Spark will take the point early.
Yeah, that was sneaky by Bezzy, getting into the back line and having the charge on the rocket punch already built up while Hydration was channeling.
That's right.
Ended up giving him a good opportunity. They didn't call that target heading into their back line. Seemed like Hydration had no idea he was there.
Sneaky Doomfist play from Bezzy. Gladiators coming in to try to turn this one around. They've got the Coalescence, but Bebe has his as well on the opposing Moira. Cosby forced to Wraith form early. That might be a little bit rough for this Reaper. They've got the Sigma Shield there for the moment. He's taking a lot of damage. Gets the healing just in the nick of time there. He's sub 50 health for the moment. Wraith form back up again, dodges the rock that way. Meanwhile, the Spark fall back to the point to try to weather this storm as the Gladiators jump in, and they're gonna just push the Spark right off the edge, it looks like. Bebe down, and Hydration jumps right through the Sigma ultimate. No problem at all as he finishes off Bezzy, and it's looking okay. Although that said, IDK, wow, sound barrier, bold move with so many down on his team, and I think that's gonna be a Lucio ult that the Spark are gonna want back.
Yeah, they did force Big Gooses as well, so it's not entirely lost. What's confusing is that in the last couple of maps, or points rather, we've seen Rhea use that Gravitic Flux after they've already lost players on the team. So they're trying to use it to create a comeback while they are a player or two down, and it hasn't worked, didn't work at the end of Mecha Base, and it's not working now.
And not yet, Gravitic Flux comes in from the Gladiators now, a little bit of damage. Gets onto Shaz though, and Hydration manages to equalize with onto Rhea. Yeah, looks like it's gonna be a fairly easy defense for the Gladiators. For now, at least.
Yeah, and they only had to use that one Sigma ultimate in the choke point. They're getting a lot more value, courtesy of Void on the Sigma than we're seeing from Rhea on the Spark.
Where does Reaper's left-hand gun go when he waves? Just like put it back in really quick.
He throws it on the ground like the rest of it.
Does he? Yeah, I was gonna say. That's really the most amazing technology in Overwatch when you think about it, is unlimited new guns from nowhere. Hangzhou Spark trying to take this one back again. Maybe with the Coalescence. Let's see if Hydration can get anything with the Meteor Strike. He's coming down. There's the damage. Does some, but doesn't get to finish anyone off. Has to back away. The Coalescence from Bebe now expiring. Gladiators regrouping a little bit here. Boyd taken out though. Bezzy gets one, and that's a nice rocket onto the Moira. They don't get the finishing damage though. And now it's time for Spark to go on the aggression. Hydration down. It's a good start. Godsby jumps in with the Death Blossom, but Sureforce shuts him down. Bezzy, though, that said, the damage that they need. Hangzhou Spark managing to flip this one. 85%, 84% rather, is where the Gladiators are going to stop for now.
Now, well, let's take a look at Rhea again here. Can they get that same value of it? Are they going to try and play aggressively with the Sigma ultimate on this approach, as we saw the Gladiators doing earlier? Don't have much to work with. They will have a sound barrier soon. Gladiators going to go ahead and sneak into the side of the point. See Sureforce there trying to find a good target so he can teleport in. Hydration gets knocked back.
That's right, man. Rhea was ready for him with the rock right there. Accretion, as it's known.
He was accreting all over the place.
He was accreted to the max. Yep. Thank you, Overwatch, for bringing words into popular vernacular that have not been said for probably 200 years or so. Really ever. Overwatch. Goes Spark. Big goose down already. Rhea comes in. Oh, gets Void with a Gravitic Flux. And Hangzhou Spark look like they're threatening to just win this map right here, right now. It all came from Bezzy's great Doomfist play at the beginning of it. That's going to be enough to get the Hangzhou Spark the 1-0 lead.
I agree, Doa. That initial pickoff was so impactful over the course of that point, and they were able to ride that wave into a narrow victory. So Gladiators kept it close, though. Looks like we're going to have a pretty competitive match on our hands.
I think all of our matches in the playoffs are going to be pretty awesome here. The Gladiators, sullen faces, but hey, it's a first of 4. We got a lot of maps to go, guys. Don't go anywhere. Map 2 coming up in just a moment.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7.
And by Omen, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
Okay, the Hangzhou Spark able to get a round up, a game up, a map up over the Gladiators so far, but it was a close one. They went to the third round, and see if the Gladiators can bring things back. It's going to be their map choice as we move into our hybrid map.
And that map choice is going to be King's Row. Interesting stuff here to start out. King's Row is map Gladiators are 7-2 on this year. Hangzhou Spark are kind of disappointing 2-4.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the Gladiators' best maps on the season.
A lot of these maps change, though, of course, as we go meta to meta, so sometimes it's very difficult, especially when we talk about 7-2. That includes the 3-3 GOATs composition that we had earlier in the season and ran into some other patch changes and meta shifts as well, and now we're here with a new hero in Sigma in the playoffs, and a very different meta than we saw before.
Can you imagine there was a time in Overwatch where you could pick 3 tanks, 3 supports at the same time?
Wow.
Insanity.
What a world.
Yeah. Well, now we're in a world where dudes are floating around throwing rocks at each other, so that's kind of cool. I'm not opposed.
We have another, all the characters that float in Overwatch are surprisingly slow.
Well, yeah, because you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to make everyone else feel bad, right? And you also notice that they tend to throw orbs as well.
Ah, that's true.
Yep.
There's definitely a theme going on here.
Can we make Zenyatta's orbs bounce and explode as well? So what I'm asking for here, just to be clear, is infinite range, no damage fall off, and bouncing and exploding.
Nice. Yeah, seems balanced.
Jeff, please. I beg of you.
All right.
Gladiators on the attack as they get things started. Joe Spark on the defense looks like a mirrored composition so far.
Yeah, not too surprising. Here, the team that doesn't pick the map picks the side first, so Hangzhou Spark opting to defend. Yeah. Hydration, he's played Doomfist on this map many times last year.
He trying to sneak in from behind, goes in. Oh, stun though, he's in trouble. He got hit with the rock there. Bezzy, meanwhile, with a kill onto Shaz, so a good start for the Spark defense. Bezzy just a few parting knuckle shots as they back away.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hydration, it seems to be going to front lines. Well, Bezzy is taking a much more flank-heavy approach, sometimes trying to target Hydration, as we saw in our first map, and now he's going after Shaz.
Well, one thing I've
trying to cut off the healing
is I feel like Rhea's ults haven't been maybe the best, but I think he's done a good job of using the accretion to stop Hydration when he comes in. There it is. Oh, roar down Bezzy with a nice rocket punch to finish that one off. And already the Gladiators shorthanded in the tank department. They're going to back away. Any outgoing kills? Maybe they can finish off Void. He did get a lot of personal shields, though. Oh, welcome to the Doomfist.
Well, Surfboard tried to get out. You
are now part of a bus.
Teleporting right in front of the Doomfist. Sends him straight into the double-decker bus. But yeah, Gladiators are taking a much more aggressive approach here in terms of just rushing the front lines. And it's caused Wraith Form to be used early and Hydration to kind of get killed.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, Gravitic Flux used by Void. Sound Barrier comes down, prevents a lot of that damage, though. Meanwhile, Meteor Strike for Bezzy keeps him safe. It's going to be Gravitic Flux. That's 4 people caught in it. Can they get the kill? Oh, they get the follow-up. Rhea, forget everything I said about this guy's ultimates, man. He's doing just fine on the Sigma.
Yeah, seems like as part of that last point on Busan and now here on King's Row, they've been doing much better. That was a reactionary ult to the Sound Barrier. So they knew the Sound Barrier was going to be used by the Hangzhou Spark first. IDK drops that one. So Gladiators try and follow up and make their presence known, push on to the point, but Rhea just drags out some time as the Sound Barrier is fading away and turns it into a big Gravitic Flux.
What we're seeing, too, is that good Sigmas will build their ults very quickly. Void already halfway to another one right now. Rhea already 36% his as well. Meanwhile, Death Blossom coming in from Surefour. No kills resulting from that just yet, though. Godspeed down. Hydration does get the finishing blow, and what that did do is it pushed the Spark back. Here we go again. The Spark are back, and Gladiators finally getting the cleanup. They're going to get the payload moving.
Stay down.
That they will. So Gladiators, they make the play, but a lot of their issues have come from the fact that, remember, the Spark are, in general, a pretty defensive team. We've talked about how the team they're most similar to is the NYXL. So they will sort of play backwards and wait for you to make the first move. And a lot of times they've just been sort of backpedaling while Hydration or Surefour are trying to press into their tank line, and that's forcing them to use movement abilities early, and then they found themselves uniquely vulnerable to the counterpunch that's coming in from the Spark.
As he down early, Hydration just finds him in the 1v1, and it's a rough start for Spark already. Void sitting on that Gravitic Flux now, just built it up. Spark having to try to play passive a little bit here.
So I have a Reaper in the back line. He's going to get in there and just die. Okay.
Hydration gets the kill on the Godsby. Yeah, they tried to go for the long flank. It was a long shot play, but not going to work out. Gladiators going to keep pushing here.
Yeah, it's going to die on the cart. So what happened there is Gladiators realized that Godsby was trying to shadow step behind them, so they just all in the 6 versus 5 in the front, managed to catch out Bezi's Doomfist right at the start, and they're going to get some more card progress as a result. So if they can catch them in those moments of flanking, they can use that Lucio speed boost to take the 6 versus 5.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been that effective because Hangzhou has been able to set up flanks faster than the Gladiators have been able to react to them.
Now this fight's a big opportunity for Spark. They're gonna have a lot of ultimates, and if they can stop the payload here with that long run back to the Gladiators, that might make it a little bit tricky for LA to finish this point. We'll see if the fight works out though for the Spark. Hydration going in early. Meteor Strike right away though. He had to get out of danger. It's gonna be the sound barrier for both sides. There's a Gravitic Flux coming in from the Gladiators. Roaring down though. Hangzhou Spark standing strong. So far, they really want to win this defensive fight here at the end of B. Bezi loads up. The right click gets stunned as he goes in though. Hydration down regardless. Kushlai finds another one, and now the other DPS Surefour hits the floor as well. And Spark, they win this fight, and now, if you're the Gladiators, you got to deal with a long run back and not a lot of ultimates.
You said it before, Doa, but Rhea has been excellent at shutting down Hydration's Doomfist. Like, the accretion just keeps hitting him over and over again at the start of these fights. There has to be a different plan here for the Gladiators. They need to be able to unlock the pick potential of the Doomfist, and if he's going to eat rocks the entire game, it's just not going to work.
I don't recommend that. It's not good on the team. All right, Hulk brings everyone in. There it is, another one on the Hydration. Gets stunned, manages to uppercut his way to safety for the moment. That's a lot of health missing from the Gladiators right now, though. And Godsby tried to take off more of it with the Death Blossom. Wasn't successful. Spark, though, Bezi goes in, finishes off Big Goose. It's a good start. Oh, but Hydration with the revenge. Meanwhile, Godsby gets Surefour, so it's going to be Hydration on his own. As far as the damage deals for Gladiators are concerned, they do, though, have that supercharger, and they're going to use it to power up Chaz's Coalescence. That's going to be a kill onto IDK, and that payload nearly at the end of B. Spark trying desperately to stop them, but they're short-handed. Hydration seems unstoppable. That's going to be a Meteor Strike coming down for the 2K. And this should be point B for the Gladiators, so not stopped for long on the attack.
Yeah, bold read by the Gladiators, too, to double down in a fight where they had lost someone. But as soon as they got the pickoff onto Bezi, they made space with the supercharger and dared the Hangzhou Spark to try and get onto the payload. Ends up working out pretty well for them as they have the Sigma ults as well to create some zones, and they're able to push through. Still only 90 seconds, though. They want to hit all the way through point C.
That's right, here we go. Gravitic Flux from Void. Ultimate comes in. Surefour with a kill onto Bebe. And it's a pause. All right, well.
Mid-fight as well.
Yeah.
Might be a bit difficult. That Sigma ult had just started getting channeled from Rhea.
Pretty much, yeah. He's just kind of looking at like a giant pink pizza pie on the ground there.
You call it pizza pies?
It's a pizza pie.
Oh, God.
Put
Just a pizza. Just
I don't know. I'm just saying pizza pie because it sounds funnier. I normally, in my day-to-day life, Doa just says pizza.
He says pizza
Sometimes
pie.
Doa speaks in the third person. That's how it goes. I've never said pizza pie. That's mostly like an East Coast thing. I was going to say pizza pie.
I have no
I don't know.
idea.
All right. Anyway, we're back. Gravitic Flux. It's pizza time. Any damage with that one? No. Ooh, the indigestion not strong for the Spark right there. Rhea down, though. Hydration gets another one, and now the Gladiators using that sound barrier to push forward. Can they finish this map off, though? Surefour needed a little bit of healing there. And now the Sun onto Hydration. Gets knocked away, but the Spark zoned out of this fight. The payload has been moving unopposed.
Yeah, but IDK was there on the payload, so they didn't move it at the start of that engagement. It allowed the rest of the Spark to retreat and regroup. So IDK playing the objective meant that Surefour had to turn around to deal with them, and Hangzhou doesn't lose any more members because they can't approach them with the Reaper. So IDK there just skating around the backside of the payload, got some really good time actually for the Spark to just strategically back off and then re-engage.
Hangzhou Spark in a pretty good position here with this last defensive fight. 30 seconds remaining, so that's only one real good engage coming in from the Gladiators here. Spark have a slight ultimate advantage, not much of one. The poke might equalize it. The Gladiators can do. Godsby coming in from behind, got that Death Blossom. Great form, and can he use it right here? A lot of damage coming in onto the Orisa. Surefork down. They took out the DPS and even voids kill onto Bezzy. Godsby gets two, and maybe they can turn it around. The tanks coming alive for the Gladiators, but the respawns are a bit better for the Spark. If they can hold on, they might still be able to do this. Shaz trying desperately to heal his Lucio. Big Goose down though, it doesn't matter, and Roar gets the kill onto IDK as well. You will see as a Meteor Strike comes in if the Gladiators can push through here, but that's a big coalescence coming out from Bebe right now. Gladiators trying to hold on, hydration, not a lot of help, but he finally gets the healing he needs in the end. Exits, there's another stun for Rhea, but Surefork right there to finish him off, and then the Death Blossom from Godsby turns it around again. An insane back and forth fight. Now the Gladiators with the sound barrier, IDK so close to his, he gets it in the nick of time. And again, will it come down to those respawns for the Spark? Big Goose, it looks like it might, but he gets one onto Gushue as well. The Hog off the edge, the whole Hog. Oh, and another knockoff onto Shaz. IDK sealing the deal and stopping the Gladiators from getting all 3 points.
So many of these fights have been somehow the flankers from the Hangzhou Spark, the Doomfist or the Reaper, causing such havoc in the Gladiators' backlines and picking off a support, or just straight up taking out hydration before the battle can begin.
That's the thing. At the end of the day, it's like in a straight up fight. Can they do it? They gotta be scrappy instead. We'll see what happens when we come back.
Support your team with the official Overwatch League Coca-Cola bottles at CokeStore.com. Ships to all 50 U.S. states, Washington, D.C., and U.S. P.O. boxes.
Welcome back to King's Row. The Gladiators unable to push the payload all the way. You can see they got it most of the way there, but the Spark coming up with a clutch defense at the very end, and you and I were chatting about this a little bit during the break, but it really is the Spark trying to be, you know, evasive and not fight that like straight up head-to-head fight.
Their positioning has been a lot trickier so far. Gladiators, though, they pushed it almost to the end of C, so certainly a winnable map for them.
Yep.
And stands right now, Hangzhou going to be content going into the Doomfist and Reaper mirror. It's interesting, but neither of these teams coming into this match had played more than 15 team fights as Doomfist this entire year.
Yeah.
And now they're forced to play it. So it certainly has not been something that we expected, and might be slightly outside of the team's comfort zone, at least in 2019.
Here we go, loading up that rocket punch. Bezzy with a bit of damage here as the Spark try to assault point A. Going around from behind again, another good bit of damage, and he doesn't get out this time though. Surefork ready for him, and now the Spark fighting short-handed. 5 to 6, make it 4 to 6, make it 3 to 6 as Surefork picks up a bunch of kills himself and sends the Spark packing. That one's not going to work out.
Yeah, Surefour got around behind the formation. The early elimination on Dambezi after he had used his cooldowns, and then is able to sweep his way through the hotel onto the tank line. Hangzhou Spark were very focused on hydration, got the accretion stun onto him, but couldn't get the finisher, so.
Early accretion stun from Void onto Bebe, like as the map began too. So you're gonna see those Sigmas start to get really good about placing those rocks where things begin. There's a big halt at the beginning. IDK getting close to that sound barrier. They're gonna need it soon. Hangzhou Spark instead using the Coalescence as they try to push forward here. Rhea drawing ever nearer to that Gravitic Flux, but Void already has his, and he's gonna use it right now. Are they gonna get the kills? There's a lot of damage, and it looks like it should be enough. Gladiators trying to go in for the cleanup, and they are gonna get that. Godspeed with a kill onto Hydration, though, but that's a hero that gets back to the fight in a hurry. We'll see how impactful that is. Meanwhile, the Gladiators would love to get a couple more exit kills on the way out. They do get one onto IDK, who does save his sound barrier. Oh, another one onto Bezzy as well. So Gladiators certainly going to be at full strength in that next fight anyway.
Yeah, and you got a little bit greedy right there. Tried to go after Big Goose, but couldn't get the elimination, and that bought enough time for the rest of the Gladiators to hunt him down. So there will not be a player advantage now. Hydration is back with the rest of his teammates. Plenty of ults on the Los Angeles side. Hangzhou nearly matching, however, once Rhea and Gushue top up at 100% here shortly.
Harder to be sneaky when it's such a binary way to approach that Surefour just walks in and unloads the Flower of Death.
That's great for the Gladiators. Didn't even have to use any support ults to cover him during that, so ends up being highly efficient for a Death Blossom right through the choke point right there. They know Hangzhou is trying these flanks. They're trying to set up. So when the Gladiators detect that, then they're going to go after them.
Let's see it again. Well, it's a good old-fashioned teleport in. Oh, they have the Supercharger too,
Great
so.
Timing on the Supercharger.
Yeah, that helps out as well. Meanwhile, the fight has already begun. Your Supercharger down now. Hydration stops. Gushue is flat. And it's going to be the defensive Meteor Strike. Bezzy, though, gets a kill on the Hydration anyway. Sound barrier now for Spark as they have the 6v5. We'll see what they can do with this fight. It's going to be a right-click onto Surefour as they back away. Rhea goes ahead and uses the ultimate. They're going to force the Gladiators off the point right now, and Spark on the verge of getting this payload rolling. We'll see if the Gladiators want to come back in. They tried to flank with Surefour, but Spark was wise to him. There goes the rock through it. Bezzy down there.
Still killing people.
He got the kill anyway. I thought for sure the Spark were going to finish him off, but no. He's going from behind again. They did not finish the Reaper, and they are paying for it.
Surefour's just running wild in their back line.
They couldn't finish him. I don't know how you get out of that initial flank as Surefour. That was crazy.
I think Gladiators are adapting. They realize that a lot of these cooldowns are going to shutting down Hydration. So Surefour is just playing more aggressively as a result and just waltzing around in their back line.
Well, Spark denying 3 points from the Gladiators, but the Gladiators might deny any points at all on King's Row from the Hangzhou Spark. They're on the verge of getting full held here. Just 2 ticks taken. There's another Death Blossom coming in from Surefour as he's in the Coalescence, getting so much healing as well. Hydration is like, you know what? It's all right. I'm just going to kill 2 people with my Rocket Punch. Why not? And here comes a Meteor Strike. Time to slam and finish off the Spark as the Gladiators are going to tie this series up. It's all elementary here as the cleanup continues.
Looking really good right now, and they will do it.
Yep.
Tie match here for the Gladiators. Full hold on their map selection of King's Row. They moved to 8-2 on the map in 2019.
We have ourselves a tie series going into the first break. Gladiators able to bring it back in their pick in King's Row, a map that they've done quite well on all season long. Another win for them. We'll see who takes the lead when we come back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile. State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right. And by Xfinity. Xfinity X5 gives you the speed you need to game like a pro.
never die.
I am with you.
EMP activated.
Incoming.
You can't catch me.
Glorious.
You know, it's only right that we have another back and forth battle to close out the night after the Spark took map 1. It was the Gladiators getting the full hold on Kings Road to tie things up at 1-1 at the break. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Halftime, presented by Cheez It Grooves. Malik here. We got Zoe, Brennan, Sideshow. We got our Wish Sideshow. Hydration's on the Doomfist. I'm loving it so far. How are you loving it, man?
Yeah, hydration, you know, renowned Doomfist. That's what Monte Cristo and Dora have been talking a lot about. But it's been interesting, actually, that this hasn't given them the advantage you might expect coming into this match.
Yeah, my initial impressions of this match, actually, coming into this, I figured the Gladiators would have an advantage because the damage-dealing players would be comfortable on those roles. But I think it's weird, actually, the meta we're seeing. It's a lot more based as well on your Orisa and your Sigma player and how well they can work in terms of their coordination. The damage dealers are having a lot less impact. If the previous series was like a clean series, you know, it's a nice clean match, this is like an underground boxing match, is what it feels like.
I actually think it's like the two teams are the opposite of each other. I think the damage dealers look better on the Gladiator side, whereas the tank line looks better on the Spark side. And so it kind of counters each other out as we go on in this series.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up damage dealers because when we started this match off at Busan, Hangzhou came out with a Semestra and a Bastion strategy, which is very intriguing to see.
Yeah, I love that, actually. It shows that they've put time and thought into this first map that they knew was going to be in the series because they're the highest seed. They know that it's going to be on Busan. It's Symmetra, Bastion. We've actually seen this combination quite a bit.
Yeah.
The Vancouver Titans were trying to run it in the previous match. It works really well against Reaper Doomfist because there's not really that many ways that you can close the gap and be able to take down the Bastion. But when it came to the mirror battle, that's where it's been really close and actually quite back and forth.
Yeah, I will say as well, though, I feel like I've seen this before where teams rely on these niche strategies, we call them cheese strategies as well. Case in point, Gladiators last year. They managed to take the first series against London in their initial round of playoffs by doing, you know, these sort of niche strategies where they were throwing teams off guard. So realistically, I didn't expect Guangzhou to be able to perform well in the mirror matches as we went on, but it has been incredibly close between them. As you can see statistically, Bazzi, not known for his Doomfist, in fact, it's one of the heroes he doesn't play really at all, was getting the better end of it.
Yeah, but I mean, he may have been winning in this numbers game, but if you're looking at the eye test here, I think he kind of lucked out because his team was just a little better at following up or creating space for him. They kind of edged it out for him.
Agree.
I think that Hydration still looks a lot more confident and comfortable also on that Doomfist.
Yeah, in terms of the absolute mechanics of the hero, Bazzi still looks like he's finding his feet on it. Yeah, I agree. But a lot of this hero comes down in the current meta to playing it smartly and being able to be there and anticipate other movements so that you're there to punch them when they actually come in. That's why Fitz, I think, saw a lot of success on that hero, even though he's not known as a Doomfist. So as long as the whole of Hangzhou Spark can anticipate where Gladiators are moving, I think Bazzi will still be able to perform.
Indeed. All right, well, moving on to Kings Row. The Gladiators seem to have a lot of history on this map. Of course, we know about the Great Bamboozle of last year. And they continue to excel playing at Kings Row. What do you guys think is this very defensive approach to this map by the Gladiators?
I honestly don't know what to think of this map as I was watching it. I'll be completely honest with you, because it's like we said at the start of the series, or start of this segment here, it's been a very scrappy game between them. These teams are not as well versed, it feels like, in a lot of this. And we're seeing some plays where the Gladiators just seem to be inting.
What was this? This was crazy as well. Surefour leading them around the houses, dodges, dukes, takes down Bazzi, who misses his punch, wins the 1v1 there
they
as
have
well.
plays like that.
That was nuts.
I do feel like the Gladiators did take advantage of the fact that the Spark went in maybe a little bit too aggressive. I do feel like they tried to force the issue more often than not, and it didn't really go in their favor.
Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. Well, guys, it's time for our crunch time presented by Cheez-It Grooves. And we have to talk about the LA Gladiators because they've never won a playoff series. So for them to win in this, what do you guys think the keys to victory are for the LA Gladiators?
Keep playing like they're playing, honestly, as well. I feel like it's going to be a very tight series between them because what it seems to be coming down to is the map picks as well. And on the maps that the teams are picking right now, I mean, obviously they didn't get to initially pick the first map, but what we're seeing is, Gladiators, they seem to have these comfort picks and they have a game plan on the specific maps that they're seeing. I can definitely see this going the distance, and it seems like the best time for them to try and break this curse that the franchise has had.
If you look at the teams that they've played here as well, and now the teams that they're going to be playing on their route through the bracket, it seems like they might have a slightly easier run this time around as well. I mean, the Hangzhou Spark, no, they are the 4th seed, sure, but nobody's really saying that they are a dominant force so far, and it looks a little scrappy. That they would go on to play the Titans if they win this match. If they drop down to the lower bracket, they take on the Seoul Dynasty as well. There's opportunities here for the LA Gladiators to make a bit of a run, but every team is looking pretty powerful in this playoff bracket at the moment. The Gladiators, they've got to step up now.
Yeah, I said this is a very competitive bracket. This top 8 is a serious death bracket indeed. Now, coming up, guys, we got an assault map. It looks like we're going to be going to Temple of Anubis, if I'm not mistaken. That was Crunch Time presented by Cheez-It Grooves. But I do want to ask you guys, what do you guys think moving forward here on Anubis? Is this a map that's going to favor the Hangzhou Spark? A good pick for them at all?
I mean...
Are we going to see Bash and Symmetra?
Yeah, we might. You never know. But I think what really it comes down to is that both of those teams need to be cleaning up their game. And so far, both of them have been looking very scrappy.
Yes.
So regardless of map, if neither of the teams is doing that, then it's going to continue being a brawl.
I'm curious to see if Hangzhou Spark are going to be pulling out any more of these niche strategies like we saw in Busan, Temple of Anubis. There must be a rhyme or a reason as to why they picked it.
It's the Bastion Symmetra. We've seen this kind of stuff happen before, actually.
Yes,
teleporting Bastions from the first pillar over to the back.
I'll be honest with you, I really dislike it because it might work initially now against Gladiators, which Gladiators are looking like one of the weaker teams we've got right now, I will say it.
We also haven't seen the whole bottom half of the bracket, right? Like, we haven't seen Atlanta or Shock, and we haven't seen New York.
So far of the teams, though, I'm honestly quite unimpressed with the tank line in general. But I'm bringing the spice there. It's just what I've witnessed. It's just what I've been looking at.
It's true, though. We did discuss it.
Yes.
Voice looks like the weakest Sigma so far.
But I'm worried about Hangzhou. If they bring out a niche cheese strategy right now, it might work today, but is it going to work later on down the line, further into the playoffs, when teams can prep for you? I don't think so.
All right, I don't know, guys. I think you might have the LA Gladiators wrong. Just my opinion. But anyways, guys, we got a whole other half to find that out. A whole other stretch of this match to go. Right now, it's all tied up 1-1. We'll see who can get the edge when we come back after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
Welcome back, guys. Thrilling start to this series, a 1-1 tie between the LA Gladiators and the Hangzhou Spark. And it's been interesting because we see teams playing similar compositions, but in very different ways, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think the halftime, discussed that Bezzy may not be mechanically as strong on the Doomfist, but I think his positioning was just a little bit better. He was catching people out at the start of those fights. But it didn't matter on King's Row, a map that is historically gone the Gladiators' way, goes their way once again here in this quarterfinal series.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, too, you just have to accept that Surefour is going to be like one of the best DPS players you've ever seen in your life. He's going to survive things that no one has any right surviving on the Reaper, like that attack on King's Row Point A, and that's a kind of a star factor that you need to go far in the playoffs. So it's cool to see that early from the Gladiators.
It also just seems like the Spark had a game plan coming in of Rhea is going to use the accretion stun knockdown in order to deal with Hydration's Doomfist, but that doesn't leave you with many tools if you've already committed that to stop the Reaper just from plowing through your back line, which is what we saw Surefour realize and then execute on with some really good multi-kills at the end.
Right, so it's going to take some adjustment, and part of that adjustment is substitutions. That's right. It's going to be Adora subbing in for the Hangzhou Spark. Godspeed taking a break on the bench. And so what do you think this means? I think it has a lot to do with our next map.
I think it does as well. And why we say that is it might mean a Genji pick because the map selection has been, or is going to be rather, Temple of Anubis.
That's right, yep. As you can see, King's Row going the way of the LA Gladiators now. We move on to Assault. It's going to be Temple of Anubis. And the desk mentioned it too. This is a good map for things like the Cementor Bastion as well. You can really take a lot of aggressive stances, teleport them around like we saw on the Shrine Point on Busan as well. But the Genji pick for Adora would not shock me either. Hangzhou Spark on the attack, and at the moment, it's looking like Adora running the Reaper. So it could just be they feel Adora might do a little bit better than Godspeed did.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. We discussed how Godspeed has been arguably the worst Reaper main that we've seen so far this year when it comes to damage per 10 minutes and also final blows per 10. He was lowest in the league of Reaper players who have played over 90 team fights.
Hydration doing his Warrior 2 pose there. That's getting us some yoga before things start.
So might be mixing it up, and they will be. Adora now will be on that Reaper. So what can he do that Godspeed can't will be the question. Gladiators to be positioned here on that high ground, on that right-hand side as the Hangzhou Spark enter. Rotating now, the Gladiators over to defend the choke point.
They've got that Orisa shield too if they need it. See what the aggression's going to be. All right, Hulk gets used. Going to rocket punch right through. It's going to be the Doomfist hitting each other. As he spun, gets a little bit of shields out of that. Hangzhou Spark still in this one. Going to go ahead and burn through Void's shield. He has to recall that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I need to wait for some barriers right now. That's what the delay is for the Spark. Sigma barrier going to come out, and that's the push.
That's right. Hulk comes in as well. The Doomfist hit each other again. Meanwhile, Roar very low. They got to keep their tank alive. Orisa, but Hydration down. Bezzy finds a 1v1. The Doomfist finally deciding who the better one is in this fight anyway. Gladiators backing off to the point. Hangzhou trying to win a 6v4 here, 6v5. Surefour in trouble. Can they finish off the Reaper? Goes back to his team, but Roar left exposed, and now Bezzy looking for a kill. Onto Big Goose as well, down to just about 50 HP. Surefour finally gets one. How does he live for so long? And they're going to actually use the Coalescence from Shaz to try to stay in this one.
I mean, they have no Orisa right now, so the re-engage should be very strong from the Hangzhou Spark. I mean, they have no tanks right now on the point. Tank respawns coming in. This should be easy for the Spark to take.
I mean, Surefour just trying to take that defensive position as well. Now he's trying to get up on the high ground. One tick taken by the Spark already. The tanks for the Gladiators coming back. But Shaz, now the support's out of commission. And finally, Surefour drops. The Hangzhou Spark slowed down, but not stopped at all on point A. They are going to get a quick take.
Not sure it was worth Roar coming back in there because of how he died immediately and he didn't do anything to stall out the point, also giving all that HP over when it comes to ult charge.
Yeah,
and it was only the supercharger that was used because remember that that's fight start with a pick off onto Hydration. So Hangzhou play their ult economy conservatively with a player advantage. That's Gladiators nearly up at 5, but they're not going to have the Coalescence. Doesn't matter.
Oh, finish off Adora anyway. Yeah, Gladiators with an easy team fight win here. Hangzhou Spark says, okay, we'll just save all our ultimates then.
And Gladiators, they've been playing in these choke points with just using Death Blossom, basically. And that's been impactful. It was impactful for them in a choke point on King's Row on their defense. It's impactful for them here again on the Anubis B defense. And part of that is, as we've seen in the meta shift over, we see a lot less D.Va. So, it's harder to absorb that with the Sigma ability rather than trying to use the defense matrix to sort of covers the entire. Ooh, nice pick.
All right, Hydration just comes down from on high and eliminates Bebby immediately. Tries to go for Death Blossom, does Adora, gets 2 kills out of that one. Hydration coming in right on top of Gushue. Bazzi right on top of him. That said, though, the Spark not with enough people at all to assault the point.
No, I mean, it's good play by the Gladiators. They realize that they've been at these ult disadvantages, so they're taking some very aggressive risks. Knowing that they can use the spawn advantage, and if they can sow enough chaos that the Spark are going to dump a lot of ults into those fights, then they're going to have a lot weaker presence when they actually get onto the point itself.
It's working out well so far. Rhea, meanwhile, okay, there we go. Void uses the Gravitic Flux. Surefour down already. Void does get the kill into Bezzy, but Adora coming back with one onto Roar. Now
nice stun!
Barrier. That's right.
Stun him out of the ult.
On the Gladiators, and Rhea, like you said, doesn't get to use that Gravitic Flux that he wanted to. Sparks still moving towards the point, though. Gladiators a little bit scattered, but they do have that respawn advantage. Void down, though. 1 tank out of commission. Rhea rapidly building his ultimate back again. He's doing a lot of damage, actually, in the meantime, too. Hydration needs to flee. He's in big trouble, gets pulled in, killed with the Halt, taken out before the Rock even gets there. And Spark looking okay in this fight, just grinding through the LA Gladiators. And I don't know if the Gladiators can turn this one around. They're gonna have a miracle. Shaz is gonna have his Coalescence in a second, but they've got the Supercharger to contend with. 2 ticks taken by the Gladiators right now. Coalescence comes in from Shaz, and they try to get Surefour into the back lines as well. Surefour looking for kills here. The swap over the D.Va happens as well for Void. Bezzy, meanwhile, trying to deal with Roar, keep him knocked up in the meantime, so he can't really jump on anybody else. They are so close, 93% for the Hangzhou Spark, but there goes Rhea. Gladiators trying to bring it back in Hydration. Another one with the Doom Fist. And with a little bit of help from Surefour and Roar, the Gladiators are going to barely hold point B.
93.7% on that stall out from the Gladiators. Swaps coming through to make sure they were going to be able to stick to that point. Hangzhou Spark tried to force it. They didn't have Bezzy when they first got onto the objective, and that was just enough for the Gladiators to hold.
That was as close as it gets.
It certainly was. And might be the best chance for the Spark.
Might have been. I mean, you look at the Gladiators right now, they're going to have both support ultimates again in a second. That's better than the Spark will have access to. I think you might be right. Spark with 1:30 left on the clock, so any way you slice it, even if they finish it, it's not going to be the world's greatest time bank either. Going in, all right, Death Blossom from Surefour, and he gets 3! Surefour! Nobody's stopping this guy.
You know, part of it is Surefour is a good player, Doa. Part of it is, as you say, nobody is stopping this guy. He's
slow clap at the end.
Slow clap and tactical crouch, like you do.
I mean, yeah, you know, what's better than the tactical crouch? The slow clap crouch. Yeah, easy as that, right? Play of the game. I think that's what they call that.
When you know that they're going to blow those cooldowns early on the initial engage, it opens up these timing windows where you can just pop in. And to his credit, Roar's been doing a good job of providing superchargers and Orisa barriers to him. That time it was Coalescence.
Oh man, I don't think that caught anybody in Rhea's Gravitic Flux there. That was a rough one for the Spark. It's going to force out the sound barrier, at least from the Gladiators. They're going to trade ultimates there. Big Goose trying to separate some of the Spark members from the rest of their team here, and Hydration down. Adora gets one with the Death Blossom, looking for more as he runs forward here. Wraithform to get onto the point and get after Big Goose, who backs away. Gonna get taken out here in a second. There we go. Now the Spark ready to finish it. They do get the complete cap with 21 seconds remaining. Took a long time to get there, but they got the job done in the end.
Yeah, didn't go to overtime either, so they will guarantee themselves another attack round if the Gladiators are also able to finish. So crucially important. And the Spark looking to take a lead in this series.
The Gladiators on the attack when we come back.
Support your team with the official Overwatch League Coca-Cola bottles at CokeStore.com. Ships to all 50 U.S. states, Washington, D.C., and U.S. P.O. boxes.
It was tough for the Hangzhou Sparks, but they were able to get 2 points on their attack on Temple of Anubis, despite the heroic efforts of Surefour and the rest of the LA Gladiators.
Could have been a lot worse for the Gladiators, actually.
It could have been, yeah.
They good stall.
They held quite a long time. Rhea on your screen, playing that Sigma today. Been a little bit hit and miss on the ultimates, but really good. And his parents are in the audience today as well, coming all the way to support their son. That's pretty sick.
I think we should have a parents' reaction cam.
I think we should have an Overwatch parents match, where we have the parents and the players play against each other.
That would be really funny, actually.
Yeah. Both
of
those ideas are great. We have the best ideas, man.
I know we do.
That's true.
We also have to have a walkout competition onto the stage between the parents' groups.
That's true.
I would enjoy that greatly.
Yeah. Well,
Swoosh can coach them.
I was going to say, Swoosh comes back and just wins it anyway. He signs like a one-day contract with Florida. LA Gladiators on the attack here. We'll see if they can get 2 points a little bit quicker than Spark did get a little bit better time bank. The Spark, you know, we thought maybe the Temple of Anubis pick, not their best map. Statistically, we thought maybe we'd see some sort of crazy Symmetra shenanigans again, but they've been playing pretty straight up as far as our early glimpse at the meta goes right now.
Yeah, it is kind of confusing. Maybe they feel just Godsby isn't in form, and so they want to give it a shot. Because remember, for most stage 4 was Adora on the Mei. So.
Yeah, that is true. But again, you know, why pick a map where you don't have a great record on? I guess it's practice. I guess it's confidence. You'd hope so.
Surefour's on a flank right now. Watch this teleport. He might be coming in from behind. There he is in the front line. Has to Wraith form out.
Yep. Still putting a lot of damage into those shields. Yeah, that Sigma shield is basically gone, and now Adora is just completely gone. As the first kill comes in, Hydration getting that one. Now teleporting over to the backlines, forcing the fade early from Bebe. That Moira definitely very vulnerable right now, but Big Goose is down. Bezzy comes back with a kill on the support. Bebe drops, so Surefour finally finding his Corey. The Hunter gets his prey, but now he is hunted in this little room on the side, and Rhea down. Surefour will not be denied. The support Surefour gets from the Gladiators is pretty insane sometimes in these fights, and it shows. The Gladiators gonna take point A here, and Surefour looking pretty unkillable.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a very fast point A capture here. Minute 15 about, all it took, and they are going to have to finish this map, but they have plenty of time to execute on that. They're going to have the first coalescence, although Baby will probably get his by the time fight on the point actually begins. Hangzhou will not have that opportunity to have the same level of aggressive defense that we saw the Gladiators on their first defense on point B. Now, they're just going to be trying to defend the point. Coalescence goes out immediately.
And there goes the Meteor Strike as well. Hydration looking for a target. Go on the back lines. Oh, nice halt to bring in IDK. They got one kill, but Bezzy got the kill in the Hydration afterwards. He's been following up those Meteor Strikes multiple times. That is the new pro strat, apparently. You know where he's going to be, just land on him. Roar gets the kill on the Gushui anyway, and respawns or not. It's looking pretty good for the Gladiators here on point B. Void finds one on Adora, and there's a cleanup on a Bezzy as well. Spark are going to just have to trickle in and try to stall as long as they can now. 440 plus, still on the timing for the Gladiators. This is a nightmare for the Spark if they lose this point right now, and they will. 5:19 when it's all said and done, when you get that little boost of time at the end. Wow.
Yeah, dominance from the Gladiators on the Sparks map, no less.
Yeah.
Couldn't switch fast enough. Good discipline, preventing the stall, killing the Wrecking Ball early and forcing the Orisa out. No chance for the Spark to drag any more time off that clock.
Well, it's a massive time bank mismatch. We'll see who wins in extra innings on Anubis when we come back. So Hangzhou Spark finished with less than a minute remaining. They'll be bumped up to a minute for their time bank round. The Gladiators get that additional time as well, which brings them up to 5 minutes and 19 seconds in the time bank. That is a lot of time. That is a big edge for the Gladiators to try to take the lead in this series with a win here at Temple of Anubis. The Spark, though, will attack first.
There we go. Big rock over the top right there. Does get blocked by a Sigma barrier. Nice try.
Yep. You gotta go for that. Why not? And here we go. Gladiators know the angle Spark are coming from. And they're just gonna walk in. And again, the Doomfist run into each other. We've seen that every single fight, but Bezzy right there to uppercut Hydration into oblivion. Oh, and it's a good start. 2 kills from Bezzy. Once again, the Doomfist winning the day for the Spark on point A. And man, they need a really fast take, and Surefour wants to try to deny them. He's still up for now, but he might not last too much longer. Although we've said that before. Shaz down, Surefour drops. And it looks like it will be a quick point A take for the Spark. They're gonna get 30 seconds after this. Not a lot of time, but even just taking point A in time bank is pretty big.
Yeah, it definitely is big, but how are they going to snowball this into a win?
It's not gonna be easy.
I mean, both teams have the coalescence, and they didn't get a lot of ult charge otherwise. So they gotta hope for a big pick. Can they get the same couple of kills to start things off? Aggressive defense here again from the Gladiators. Nice stun.
Oh, Hydration, though, gets a kill on the Bezzy. It was such a good rocket punch on Roar to start that, but Hydration was ready to counter, and now Surefour with the kill on IDK. That's gonna be all she wrote, folks. It's gonna be nearly impossible for Hangzhou Spark to take point B at this point. Gladiators getting the kills they need. Can anyone even get there? No. So, the Hangzhou Spark take point A in style, but no progress at all on B.
I love the way the Gladiators are playing around these objectives, Doa, because they're taking these aggressive fights. They're playing their ult economy well when they know what their opponents have. In that scenario, you might as well just go ahead and take the risk, because if you can get that pick off, which they did, you're gonna win. And even if you get picked off, you can fall back to point for respawn and be okay. So with the time bank they had remaining, ends up working out very well for them.
Yep.
There you see it, IDK falling, and Surefour is going to go ahead and pursue through the dark room here on the flank. Or it's nothing you can do. It's just playing the janitor, mopping up.
That's the thing. Having the time of his life as well, apparently. Well, why not? I mean, your team is sitting in a great place right now, right? You've got over 5 minutes in your own time bank. Yeah, sure, your opponents took point A, but you've certainly got enough time to do that. And then once you do, you're looking at either a draw or, you know, maybe a pretty easy win if you take that first tick on B.
I think a lot of that decision making is so critical in Overwatch, and when you see it being done well and clock management, there's so many different scenarios that you have to consider as you're shot calling in that situation, and to do it well is a complex feat.
Yeah.
Gladiators pulling it off pretty nicely, and now you're gonna have that chance here.
Downtown. Oh, where's Rock? Got denied.
Go ahead, they need to... Right now, Hangzhou Spark, only chance to win is to full hold.
Yep. That's the plan for the Spark. We'll see if they can do just that. Ton of time, though, with Gladiators, like we mentioned. Now the typical engage we've seen a lot of teams use on this map with this composition. Are we going to have the Doomfist punching each other again, though? It's happened every single time so far. Loading it up, going in. Not this time. Hydration down. Bezzy, he was wise to him, man. He knew exactly the angle he's coming in. Doesn't stop Void from killing IDK, though. Bezzy wants to stop this attack cold. It's 2 for 2 so far in the fight between these teams. And the Spark reeling here already.
They don't have that Orisa either, which is really important for them to be able to stall out this point. Wrecking Ball swap from Roar, very smart. Get back here with a player advantage as fast as you can.
Akushe makes a change as well. He's going to try to get that back there quickly, but not in time to save IDK. Surefour picks up 2, and that looks like it's going to be it for point A. Spark not going to be able to hold this one. And now it's going to be just a single tick. Just a third of the control meter on point B for the Gladiators to win Anubis and take a lead in the series. They're so close.
Keep on pushing forward right now. Gladiators doing a good job. Don't have much to go. Just that one tick with 4.5 minutes. Quite doable.
That's right.
Hangzhou Spark hoping for that draw.
Yeah, they're going to try, but it's such a long defense, right? You have to defend for 4 minutes and change on this one. It's going to be rough. Coalescence available for Shaz. Can use it immediately. All they need to do is bull rush their way in there and get just one tick. Just a third. Trying to finish off, or trying to keep Surefour alive, rather. A lot of damage being done by the Spark. No kills quite yet. Surefour gets in the back line, so there's the Death Blossom. Adora down. Hydration picks up a kill, and Surefour there for a 2K and the cleanup. And it's looking like it's going to be Gladiators taking a lead in this series. They've got the sound barrier, they've got the damage, they've got the lead, and now they've got Temple of Anubis, a 2-1 lead for LA.
And a great map for Surefour, Doa. 23 final blows out of their 57 limbs, 14 Death Blossom kills.
Wow.
Positioning really good overall, and they've started to exploit the Hangzhou Sparks' tendencies. We've got to see Hangzhou adapt right now.
Yeah, well, it's taken them an entire stage to adapt in the past. They got to do it in just a few maps. We'll see if they can do it when they come back.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7.
Omen, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Assist of the Week, presented by State Farm. The Guangzhou Charge were looking to wrap up a 3-1 win over the Chengdu Hunters on Map 4 when Nero and his Pharah tried to drop in for a clutch point-blank barrage, but the Hunters stunned and then hacked him before Jinmu flew in and finished him off. Not content with the one kill, Jinmu took Nero's old position and unleashed a point-blank barrage that wiped out the Hunters.
Jinmu! The ground barrage gets it done.
A lead for the LA Gladiators after a win on Temple of Anubis. Now the question is, can the Hangzhou Spark pick it back up again, tie up the series? But I think the question you and I had more than anything is putting Adora in but not changing the team compositionally at all. It seems like maybe it's just kind of a bit of a vote of no confidence in Godspeed's Reaper play, but at the same time you'd hope with a different player they'd have access to different compositions, but we haven't seen that yet, at least not on that map anyway.
I mean, this is going to be, I think, the standard composition that we see for the playoffs. Obviously, we've seen a little bit more Pharah here and there as well, and some niche strategies on certain points. Right, but a lot of it has been Doomfist, right?
Yeah.
Doomfist, at least in the play-ins, was the most played damage-dealing hero and third most played overall behind Sigma and Orisa. He was seen in 67% of team fights in that play-in period, and we're seeing probably even more of him today, honestly.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if your team doesn't have a great Doomfist player, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, I think, in this meta. And as metas shift around throughout the history of Overwatch, there's always been heroes like that. There's always been those pillar heroes, we could say. Now an interesting substitution coming in for the Gladiators. Decay subbing in for Void. Interesting. So they're putting Decay in as one of the tank roles. All right. And Hydration Ooh,
damage to
subbing
tank.
from damage to tank. Ah, okay, I see now.
So those of you who are
Interesting.
avid Hydration or Gladiators fans probably know that Hydration has been playing quite a bit of Sigma on the ladder right now. And
Right.
so what this means is that they are going to be, for whatever reason, playing Hydration in now, as Godsby will return.
Subbing back in for Adora. Okay, huh.
Yeah, and I know that the desk highlighted it at halftime that Void hasn't been the greatest Sigma player.
Sure.
But we're going to go on to Rialto, and I guess they feel that they don't necessarily need Hydration's Doomfist skills on this map, and he's probably the better Sigma player. So why not go ahead and go to your strengths and have Decay come in for a more niche strategy, possibly on the Pharah.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so as I mentioned, yeah, Decay and Hydration over to tank. Set defense. Grab it, to be honest. It's not playing defense at all.
So Gladiators 2 and 3 on this map, Spark 2 and 2. Worth noting that we have not seen Rialto in the pool outside of the playoffs until we saw it in the GOATS meta. And
Right.
this is definitely a 3 tank, 3 support heavy map. So far in 2019, we're seeing it now here in the playoffs without that meta being in effect as we moved into roll lock.
How about this though? Surefour on the Ashe and Decay on the Pharah as we have a little bit of a pause. Well, we'll see if it's a little bit of a pause. You never know. This could be turning into a Doamati podcast hour.
Oh, good.
Lucky you.
My favorite.
That's right, especially all the people in the audience. That's what you came for.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to talk about Star Wars, Jurassic Park.
Sure.
90s cartoons.
Yeah, I mean, there's some modern things as well. See the new Dark Crystal?
I have not.
It's pretty sick. It is. Oh, thank goodness. We're back in the game. And let's go back to talking about the defense for the Gladiators, actually, because it's a little bit different than we were expecting, maybe. It's going to be the Ashe Pharah. Big Goose, of course, on the Mercy to support the Pharah.
Lots of long-range poke damage with this composition, and I'm playing that Ashe because you do have a lot of hard angles in this map, so the mid-range hit scan a little bit better, and you can catch people in these narrow streetways with the dynamite potentially.
Right.
And we are going to see some teleporting. Right now, Hangzhou has Godsby and Bezzy in the back lines. They're together on a flank, but they're going to get poked out, and Wraith Form used.
Godsby, yeah, I mean, you're dead. he had nowhere to go after that Wraith Form. Yep. Can't exactly jump into the canal. Hydration. So the Gladiators kind of falling back a little bit, but no real threat coming in from the Hangzhou Spark at this point.
I mean, the Doomfist Bezzy's still way in the back right now by Shaz. Sneaking around on a crouch walk. He's on a secret mission.
It is hard to walk like that, too.
He's got very strong
crouch and walking in. Massive quads. Oh, and a massive fist as well. Oh, but it's the trade. Shaz takes Bezzy down with him. The res comes in from Big Goose, so they bring their Ana back, so that's okay. That said, the Spark's still pushing.
But if your Ana's dead and your Mercy's rezzing, you can't heal your tank line.
It's very true.
And that means quick death there for Roar. Roar with the Wrecking Ball swap, gets back quickly.
Yep. There, goes through, knocks everybody off the payload, getting a little bit of shields, comes in. Oh, Surefour beats a rocket punch from Bezzy. The Ashe is down. And now Rhea trying to finish off that bar. Ooh, goes for the hair shot. Yeah, that's a fancy one, man. Trying to make the highlight reel there. Either way, forces the Pharah away. Bebe gets a kill onto Decay anyway with that Coalescence. It's going to be the Nano Boost, meanwhile, onto Hydration. Trying to get him up to the ultimate, perhaps. It's not working out. Not quite yet. Big Goose popped that Mercy ultimate as well, but it's not going to end up in a team fight win. The Sparks still going to finish off point A.
Ooh, that Doomfist flank really threw a wrench in the works of the Los Angeles Gladiators. The trade kill came through, but you got the res. However, when you abandon your front line to make the res happen, does mean that they're going to get a lot of payload progress and sort of control over that choke point at the end of A. Hangzhou taking advantage of that opportunity. Don't have to use too many ultimates, and now we're going to see the swap back to Reaper Doomfist for LA.
All right. Whoa! Death Blossom growing higher than you'd expect. Use that Wraith Form to get out. Gets one kill, but no, Godsby, he's just fine, man. And that was a pretty easy team fight win for the Spark. In fact, a team kill comes through as they might be able to just get around this corner. That's usually one of the trouble spots for attackers.
Yeah. Hydration making a beautiful helicopter out of Godsby.
It was like one of those toys where you pull the string and it flies up in the air and spins, you know?
Never thought I'd see Reaper reach, you know, the rotations per minute to actually go airborne.
It's not about the DPS, it's about the RPM, apparently. Rhea goes and uses that ultimate. No kills out of that one, but they do manage to get the health on Decay really low. He's down hydration as well, in a little bit of trouble. Meanwhile, they separate Roar from his team for a little bit. Yeah, throwing out those orbs, doing a lot of damage. Big Goose gets a knock up onto Bezzy, though. And Hangzhou Sparks starting to struggle a little bit. They need to back off the payload, trying to rotate around. Big Goose, goes for the knockup, doesn't catch anyone with it, though. And now Surefour coming in from behind. Shaz did drop at the end of that one, and now Surefour with the Death Blossom, able to walk forward with that sound barrier. Gets one onto Gushway, and that's going to be enough. The Gladiators can back off and play the rest of this fight defensively.
Yeah, Coalescence used at the end by Bebe. Not ideal there. They were trying to keep Gushway alive. He did get the Orisa barrier down, but had enough damage dealt to him before that. They're able to clean up the kill because of the chunk that Surefour's Death Blossom took out of him. Gonna try again here. Have that supercharger, make a little bit of space. They're gonna stay spread out though, make sure that Hydration doesn't get a good Sigma ultimate off.
Well, that's a hope anyway. Gets ulted off the high ground. Gonna go and activate the ultimate. Going for it, Gravitic Flux, denied, fortify for Gushway, keeps him safe. IDK not so lucky, comes down from on high with the rock out of Bebe. Decay gets the final blow there. Gladiators though, coming out ahead in this fight. Hangzhou taking everything they've got, putting it on the payload right now. Gravitic Flux again, this time from the Spark. Shaz is down, and with Godspeed Death Blossom, it thought for a second it might be enough. They're still getting kills. This is such a barroom brawl right now between these teams, and Rhea's not ready to let this one go just yet. The rock comes through. No stun out of that one though, and yeah, now you have to back away, but the Hulk's not gonna let him. He's in trouble, but he gets out. Hangzhou Spark, though, not able to finish B yet.
The combination of the superchargers and the two tanks still alive on the Gladiators, barriers go up all over the payload, and Hangzhou Spark simply can't approach. They're trying to throw those abilities out, but when your accretion is hitting those barriers, Sigma really bad at taking down barriers.
Well, yeah. Does not do a lot of consistent damage into those. Have to go around it. Decay, uppercut, rocket punch, goodbye! Oh, he trades! Oh, and Bezzy! Roar got the kill anyway, but Bezzy was gonna get back on. IDK makes Surefour take a drink as well. The drink of death. And Shaz takes on Bebe with the Coalescence. So the Spark still putting a little bit of pressure on here. And the members of the team that they've lost can get back in a hurry, but they're just gonna regroup. 39 seconds to go. You've got maybe one more good push here from the Spark.
Yeah, Big Goose also about to match the sound barrier of IDK. Bebe needs just a few more percent to get another support ult online. So a little bit more healing, a little bit more sustain for the Spark. But guess what? Surefour's been nasty with those Death Blossoms.
Oh, the stun Decay down. That was a really bold rocket punch he went for, and he paid for it. Spark ready. They're going to use the sound barrier to get aggressive now onto the Gladiators. Big Goose tied with his ultimate available. That is tragic for LA. And point B is going to be secured by the Spark.
Yeah, Spark had to throw everything at that, however, and they're still going to go for it. They're trying for the Hail Mary here.
They're trying, man. If they could stop it right here, it'd be an easy lead. Decay does get one onto Godspeed. Can he stay alive? No, can't quite do it. Meanwhile, Hydration pops the ultimate. They go in. Big Goose drops again, though. Bezzy finds another one, and the Coalescence for Shaz.
They're gonna do it, Duh.
Might be enough. It kept the tanks alive. Surefour's still in it as well. And the Hail Mary indeed. Big Goose got back in time. He got the sound barrier off, and he helped the Gladiators get the defense. I cannot believe they pulled that off.
What a great decision by the Gladiators.
Wow.
So what happened there, you can see big smiles on Shaz.
No kidding.
They didn't think that they might not be able to pull that one off, but if you look who died, Big Goose was the one who's down. So he's going to be able to get back quickly with the help of the speed boost. And also, they've been consistently swapping Roar over to the Wrecking Ball. Decisions being made very fast for the Gladiators. So knowing that they could get back to the point quickly, they opt in.
Look at that, though.
I mean,
just the shield onto Decay.
It's just him, and no one's able to really deal with Big Goose. He's playing around the corners, and then they get back with the ultimate coming in as well from Hydration and slam everyone down.
Man, that was a flawlessly executed fight. Just in terms of how they use abilities. The sound barrier comes in, You know, Big Goose stays on the payload, boops people away. That gives Decay time enough to use the Meteor Strike without giving up any more movement on it. That gives the team enough time to get more people back into the fight. And that's why the Gladiators are here, man. That's what a playoff team does right there.
Yeah, we talked about their decision-making constantly throughout this series, and that is a really hard call to make.
Yeah.
And you have to know that the Sigma's about to be there with the ultimate, because it's about the stall. You're taking two mobile heroes in the Lucio as well as the Doomfist, putting enough shields on them and hoping they can dodge around long enough. And you know the Spark are all going to be grouped up in the payload.
Yeah.
And the Sigma ultimate is just fantastic on those in overtime scenarios when everybody has to be there. You're going to catch many, many people.
Absolutely. So now the Spark, the ones on the defense, and Sureforce swapping it up. He's going to go over to the Somer for a second, just do a bit of scouting, switching back to the Reaper now.
So Godsby.
Composition except for the Spark site. Godsby, like you were just about to mention, on that Widowmaker.
Godsby, this is where he was really hard carrying.
Whoa, there we go.
In stage 4, and now they're going to try and switch it up here, go back to the Godsby excellent sniping that got them in to that guaranteed playoff seed in the top 6.
You know, there's a lot of shields, of course, that you're shooting into as this Widowmaker, but there's also a lot of characters popping up into the air. We saw Big Goose with the Lucio. You know, the Doomfist is out from behind shields pretty frequently. You can maybe get a headshot on that flanking Reaper as well, and yeah, go ahead and grapple your way to safety. There's a kill onto Big Goose. Roar does get the final blow, though, onto Godsby. This defense might be about to be shattered, but you can definitely see the reason for the Widowmaker.
Yeah, and they're going to get another chance at this defense too. Spark, as soon as they started losing players, rotated over to the cart and are just being annoying, taking time off, because Gladiators went on a long flank away from the objective. So yes, Gladiators are going to win this fight, but there is definitely going to be another defense here from the side of the Hangzhou Spark.
Yeah, burned a minute and a half or so about off the time bank to begin with already. And you can see the Spark grouping up in the bottom right there to try to defend this one again. Shaz has that coalescence. That might be what they need to push through.
Godsby making the swap off. No chance for the Widowmaker.
Falcon! Almost. Big Goose, so gets one on Rhea anyway. There's the knockup he was looking for. Sureforce finishes off Kushway, and that's point A. Taken no contest really from the Spark at all.
They all in on that flank, but when you don't get that initial pickup, Gladiators have been reading those flanks better and better, just jamming their way into the front lines of the Gladiators, not giving the Spark an opportunity to set up properly. And that's been a big difference maker as this series has gone on here to map 4 is the adaptation of the Gladiators.
Pretty much. Big is close to his sound barrier. Now Lucio ult going to be crucial as they try to finish off point B. Meanwhile, Decay and Sureforce sneaking around, trying to get an angle on the defense here. They've got it. Ooh, a little bit too much damage though. Has to back away. Nice boop from Big Goose, dislodging the high ground defense from the Sharks, or the Spark rather, as the Gladiators come in again. And we'll see if they can push it. I don't know, man. That's Hydration coming in with the ultimate. Sureforce finishes off Gushway. IDK down as well, and Bezzy manages to get one, but that is all the Spark are going to get, as that payload very close to the end of B, and very close to giving the Gladiators an even greater lead in this series. Is anyone there to contest? The Reaper gets there just in time. Wraithform to waste a bit more for the Spark to get back to the point. Can they defend though? They've got the Coalescence and the Gladiators backing off. Now Shaz pops his Moira ultimate as well. And that is a nice slam. Oh, Hydration denied though. Rhea comes in. He's got the Gravitic Flux. No kills out of that one, but he does manage to set up Godsby for a great Death Blossom. 2K off of that, and are you kidding me? Godsby with the 4K, and the Spark, they'll continue to hold.
That accretion, you get it onto the Reaper on the enemy team. Sureforce is knocked down, and Godsby sweeps through to clean up the Gladiators. That said, Doa, you still have to hold for another 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
That's not going to be easy.
You know, one fight is impressive, but you have to do that for every fight for the next 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, and all it takes is one Death Blossom from Sureforce to turn things around, and he's got that ultimate right now.
Yep, and Hangzhou has no defensive ultimates available, so Sureforce very successful. He's gonna go for a nice stun.
Yeah, got knocked right out of it. Barely any damage done at all. That'd be a little bit low. Sureforce jumps in, can't take him out after the Wraithform though. Now Decay Meteor strike down to the payload, just trying to clear people out. Gets two! Bezzy and Gosby, wrong place, wrong time. And that is a big ultimate, now chasing down. And nobody can stop the Gladiators from reaching the end. And they have a 3-1 lead. It's match point.
And you know, they've done it now on multiple maps that the Spark have selected. So if this is the Spark's game plan, you know, the Spark have picked every map in this series, and it's now match point to LA.
Well, one map away from advancing the Overwatch League playoffs. We'll see if they can seal the deal when we come back.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7.
And by Omen, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Hangzhou Spark on the verge of being knocked down into the lower bracket in our playoffs. The Gladiators have a 3-1 lead. And you and I, you know, we're discussing, as we often do during the break, and wondering, the Spark's woes today, it's strange, because this is a team that was so dominant towards the end of Stage 4, won 4 in a row, but now in the new meta, sure, they're picking the heroes everyone else is picking, but the gameplay just hasn't been there.
Yeah, and just to clarify something, my mistake, the King's Row was the selection from the Gladiators, which they won. However, 3 of the maps were the Spark selection. They've lost the last couple. But yes, to your point, I've noticed this with the Hangzhou Spark, is that when they come in with a game plan, they're very rigid. And we saw this in their stage playoff match against the Los Angeles Valiant, where in-series adaptation ended up being quite weak. If they can come in and execute their own game plan, then they look very good. But as we've seen, now there were some adjustments in that last game where we started to see Rhea using the accretion more to try and shut down Surefour and was stunning him at a lot of the fights. So it seems like they're taking that threat of the really aggressive Death Blossom a little bit more seriously. But the problem is that if you're using that, when you only have this one long stun in your team composition, hydration is going crazy as a result. So I think Hangzhou's main problem is they can't shut down both of the damage dealers, and they're also not matching the damage output.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Hydration from tank back to damage. Decay out. And that means we're probably going to see Void back in as well. That's right. Void back in for the role of tank, of course. And so, the Gladiators going to try to close things out on LeeJong Tower. on a control map, on our 5th map of this series. And the Hangzhou Spark, you know, we saw a couple shots of them earlier, kind of laughing, joking around. And, you know, it is the playoffs. The matches are all serious. You don't want to get knocked down to that lower bracket, but if you do, you're still alive. You have to lose twice to be out completely at this point. So the Spark, regardless of the result of today's match, are still going to have another shot at it a little bit later. But for now, we'll turn our attention to the control map, LeeJong Tower, where the Gladiators will try to move on in the playoffs, secure a 4-1 victory, and we'll see if they can get that started here on Control Center.
You got to say, too, the Spark, with the way the meta shook out, as we saw in the play-ins, we're coming in from the damage-dealing position at a pretty substantial disadvantage. And the Gladiators are major benefactors of this being quite excellent for Hydration's hero pool.
Yeah. I mean, Reaper is a hero that's been around forever, too, so Surefour having no trouble picking that one back up again.
It's also Hangzhou, you know, they mostly shied away from Mei Reaper in favor of Mei Hangzhou.
Yep. Oh, Godspeed down already. Hydration with an early kill to give the Gladiators that 6v5 as the point unlocks in about 7. They get more. All right, oh, nice uppercut. Kushui down. The tank line absolutely shattered. Surefour does drop, though, as he does manage to get one with the right click there. Hydration, nice shields, as he's going to be pretty tanky as he goes in. The halt just going to set up Spark to take another punch, and it is going to be the Gladiators getting the early control percent.
Yep, Surefour nearly back at the point as well, so his early death not going to be impactful or exploitable on the side of Hangzhou.
Not too much, nope. All right, both Sigmas at the same percentage about. Void just slightly ahead in terms of building up that gravitic flux. Moving forward now, we'll see Hydration goes in. IDK cannot take the damage, and that's an early kill for the Gladiators again before the fight really even begins. Now, can the Spark hold on? Hydration has that Meteor Strike available. A lot of damage comes in. They miss the rock. He doesn't get stunned. He's going to come in with a Meteor Strike right onto Godspeed. And there goes Kushui as well. The Gladiators, no trouble. Shields up indeed as their defense is strong.
Hangzhou, remember, on our first map on Busan, they used the strategy with the Bastion and the Symmetra to go ahead and take that first point easily. And then it was very close when they were actually in the mirror. And now that we're seeing them have to play the mirror here on Control Center, it's going to be a little bit rougher, and Gladiators, ever since that first map, have been dominating in the mirror matchup.
Yep. Hangzhou coming in with a couple ultimates. They're going to have the sound barrier in just a second, but Big Goose already has his. It doesn't connect with the rock. Oh, down to 39 HP. Dangerous moment for him. And he goes and pops the ultimate. Can he get anyone in? It gets 3 with that one. Big Goose down already, though. And now it looks like the Spark have opened up an opportunity. Maybe, but we'll see. Roll right on the Death Blossom of Surefour. Only Bezzy, though, dropping in the middle of all that, but Hydration comes back for a 2K as the Gladiators try to hold on. 83% and counting as Hydration looks for another one. Godspeed dodging a bit of damage with the raid form. Hydration not quite sure where to put that quickly, doesn't need to worry about it. And that was not the greatest Death Blossom that Godspeed has ever used.
But he had to do it.
Though? Yeah.
He had to do it. Like,
exactly.
You know, you hate to see it, but he had to do it. See if he could get some kills at least.
You gotta try something, right? But the Gladiators are in a great place to take the lead on this map right now. Surefour with a kill onto Bezzy, and it's just gonna be tetherball as Rhea just tries to keep the point alive for the Spark. Hydration with another Meteor Strike kill onto the tank. And they're trying to get that cleanup here. The Spark desperately holding on, but they've denied IDK from even getting there. And again, we say it a lot, but it's yet another chance for the Gladiators to get the easy cleanup and secure the point. And that's 100-0 to start out what is match point for the Gladiators.
That's right, and that would be turning a new leaf in Gladiators history, Doa. Their first ever playoff win in any stage playoffs or last season's overall season playoffs.
Hey, I mean, if you could pick a time to do it, this is definitely the time. This is the big one. Those stage playoffs, you know, yeah, you got the respect, you get the honor, you get a little bit extra cash from those, but man, this is the playoffs you really want to win.
And as we proceed in this series, it seems like every map, the Gladiators just look better and better and better. That point was 19-3 in terms of eliminations. It was domination, start to finish for the Gladiators, and now Hydration going back to an old favorite, the Pharah, and Surefour will be on the Doomfist.
Switching things up a little bit. Hydration, such a good Pharah. And on a zone like Gardens, you'd have to imagine they put him on that with Big Goose on the Mercy. And Surefour on the Doomfist. We'll see how that pans out. It's going to be a swap from Hangzhou Spark, though. Ria and Gushwei making some tank changes over to the D.Va and the Wrecking Ball.
Now, the question is, why don't you change Godspeed to Widow? This is typically a good Widow point.
Great question.
And you have a Pharmacy on the other side. Might be an opportunity to use that. Instead, they're going to rush, and Godspeed is somehow going to get Big Goose.
if the Mercy comes close to you, then I guess the Reaper works. So there we go. All part of the plan, Monty. It was this way from the beginning. They knew it would happen.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's right. He had a premonition. He had a feeling, you know? Hangzhou Spark get the control point early, and a bit of a puzzling beginning to this round. But we'll see what the adaptation is going to be.
Ooh.
Big Goose denies Gushwei from getting back onto the bridge.
Could be important, too. They're going to have to taxi him back with the Lucio.
That's right. Meanwhile, the Gladiators going to be a little bit earlier to the fight.
Yeah, well, they're changing things up. Back to Doomfist Reaper. Clearly wasn't working for them.
They're like, well, Big Goose, if you're just going to get killed by the Reaper, yeah, just swap back. That's fine. Avoid. All right, nice stun on the Gushwei there. Can they turn it into anything? It's going to be the Coalescence coming in from both Moiras right now. Void building up a lot of armor, getting tanky on that Sigma right now. As the Gladiators move in to try to flip it, they've got it over halfway there. Bazzi, though, with the kill onto Shaz, and now the ultimate from Void comes in. Surefour down, and Spark will hold.
Doing a good job this time, that additional pickoff. They're really snowballing that into a big advantage right now. As the Hydration and Surefour still far away from those ultimates as we cross the 60% point here for the Hangzhou Spark.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost looking like 100-0 for Hangzhou if they can hold on a bit longer, but the Gladiators are going to have tools to take this one. They're going to be able to equalize in sound barriers, at least.
Surefour's going to be on a flank again here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Godsby already in the back line. It's going to be the sound barrier early on for both teams. And there's the Death Blossom Hydration down before Godsby gets knocked out of it. Gets one on Aurora anyway, and Godsby, he's walking through your team. He's in your base, killing your mans. And Spark going to hold off a Godsby 3K. And they are nearly there. Gladiators with one more fight to try to stay in this round, or Hangzhou's going to tie it up.
Gladiators had a nice idea, but the execution was just a little bit off. Surefour's teleport got them there a little bit late, and the sound barrier covers the Death Blossom of Godsby.
Yeah, that's right. Bebe, Coalescence right away. Big Goose dead before the fight even begins, and the healing on the Gushwei not enough, and Surefour comes in, but Spark answering in kind. It's a brawl on the point again here, and Surefour trying to take matters into his own hands. Backing off behind the Orisa shield. They can still put some pressure on, but it's 99%
so low
for Hangzhou Spark. Yeah,
they just have a Lucio to heal.
Finally getting there, though. They've got the healing they need. Surefour can heal a little bit off of those right clicks. A Reaper primary fire does heal you. Godsby, though, down. Hydration finds one in the Gladiators. Might actually be able to turn this one. Oh boy, here comes the ultimate from Ria, though. Maybe the Sigma ultimate can turn it, but no, Bezzy down. Surefour gets two, and Hydration not even needing to use that Meteor Strike left. The Gladiators have not flipped it yet, but they will now. So at the last moment, the Spark give it up.
But look what the Spark have, though. So many ultimates coming into this next fight. They're the only team that's going to have a support ult locked and loaded to start things off.
That is
Void
true, but
needs to have a really good Sigma ult here, or Surefour's got to come up and pull another Death Blossom.
Well, that's the thing. I'd be inclined to believe that that was an advantage for the Spark if I hadn't seen the Death Blossoms from Surefour earlier in the series. Hydration wanting to make a name for himself as well, and there we go. Surefour gets one. Either way, the DPS for Spark down, and there go the tanks, and the supports start to fall as well. That's exactly what we were talking about. You can't count out the star power that Gladiators have in the damage roll.
Hydration getting that first pick, incredibly impactful. That's another fight in this series that Gladiators win with a single Death Blossom used, and they retain everything else. Now the balance of power certainly in their favor. The sound barrier and the Coalescence coming up. Pick still possible, though. Bezzy's got to come up big.
It's looking real good. Let's see, Meteor Strike for Hydration. Can he get to the back line? Just tries to get in from behind. Wants that Rocket Punch. Knocks the tank. Knocks Gushwei into his team. Perfectly played by Hydration. And now Godsby get down as well. The Spark cannot hold on. And the Gladiators going to surpass 70%. Flawless damage play from Hydration.
The comebacks and the stalls we've seen from the Gladiators have been magnificent this series, Doa. They're playing these objectives so well. They seem incredibly confident in their abilities, even when they're multiple players down in some of these fights.
Right.
Getting in the back lines with a hydration and Surefour, crucial to their success on that last engagement. Spark going to be coming up here with the Sound Bear. Still a good chance for them.
This is the fight. They need to take it. Godspeed gets one onto Roar. It's a good start for the Spark, but the Sound Barrier not lasting long. The Gladiator's shield's expiring as well. As he comes down, Gushway the kill on the Void. So the Spark have given themselves a chance to turn this one around and flip it 99 to 99, but the Spark will take it. And can they hold on? It's only the Wrecking Ball to deal with. And maybe a Doomfist. Maybe if Hydration can get there. He can't quite do it, and the Spark tie it up, narrowly avoiding a trip to the lower bracket in that round.
Still got a long way to go, Doa.
Yep.
They have to run it back in this match. They have to run it back from being down 1 map to 3.
Well, it would be an insane comeback if they were able to do that, but, you know, one step at a time, right?
One step at a time. I think the worry, though, is that they're having such a struggle, even when they get up 99 to 0, and they're getting these first captures. You know, you look at that, you say, well, they really shouldn't have even gone to the 99-99 scenario in that engagement. But
of course,
the Gladiators their teamwork has been so good.
Well, just the ability to adapt in the moment from players like Hydration, you know, again, like using his Meteor Strike to get behind the team, to then Rocket Punch Gushway in front of his shield into his team and get the kill on the tank that way. Like, it's like a next level thinking. This Gladiation playing 4D chess here. Big Goose is going to be just waiting to respawn. Spark get an early kill here. There goes Roar as well. Good start again for the Spark on this map. Hydration drops as well.
And they need this. They need these first team fight wins because that's the only way they've been able to stick in with the Gladiators. If they'd gone the other way, this might already be nearly over, but instead the Spark tenaciously clinging on to life.
Yep. Big Goose drops again. Oh man, and that is rough actually. Shaz and Big Goose, I'm not quite sure what they were doing there, honestly. I guess trying to maybe delay for the rest of the team to get back, but instead you're just going to give the Spark a bit more control percent with those staggered deaths.
Yeah. Could have been
surprising.
Hard. Yeah, it could have been hard for them to get out as well in that scenario. They come back pretty fast though. Small map.
Lucio can ride over walls. He has no space. Shaz with the Coalescence. Bebe down. Good start. Ooh, great start for the Gladiators, even with the kill coming in from Bezzy. See if the Gladiators can push this onto the point. Bezzy comes down with a Meteor Strike onto Roar. Gets knocked down for the moment, but rises right back up with the uppercut, and the Spark will continue to hold.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do in that scenario if you're the Gladiators, because you're playing into 2 supports and a Reaper. Well, you're playing with your 2 supports and your Doomfist, rather, into that Reaper.
Sure.
Like, you're just not going to kill the Reaper. Super difficult to do. And so the Spark end up with the right players remaining on the field. Come back in again, so 55% for Hangzhou.
Right, oh, there we go. Godspeed gets one and then unleashes the Death Blossom onto Big Goose, finishes Shaz as well, and now it's a Reaper battle. But the fight has already been won by the Spark. The Gladiators try to sneak the capture from behind, but no doing, and 70% for the Spark, and they are on the verge of staying alive in this series with a win on LeeJong Tower.
They can also delay with their tank ults. So if we talk about using the Supercharger aggressively here to prevent their push onto the point, they can also use the Sigma ultimate. They still have to wait for Roar, the Gladiators, before they can even approach. Supercharger down, buying time.
There, uh-oh, all right. Godspeed barely gets out, but there's the ultimate from Void. He's gonna go down, Rhea takes him out. And the Gladiators trying to push this fight into their favor. Hydration doing what he can. And maybe with Gushway out of position here, he's in a little bit of trouble. Nice connection with IDK. Hydration just finds him. And Big Goose's sound barrier giving them so much durability to flip this one, and I can't believe it. The Spark are gonna hand the point over again, maybe. That Gushway down, it's not looking good. The tanks are out, and they flip it.
Arguably, Big Goose didn't have to use the sound barrier there, though, Della. Like, they might have wanted to hold on to that one. It's difficult to make those calls in the moment because he saw Bebe coming out with the Coalescence, and he decided that he wanted a little bit more shields to ensure the survivability of his team, but now they're going to have to play with nothing. Nothing at all into a sound barrier and a Death Blossom. How do you survive that?
Okay, Bazzi, oh, Pepe gets a kill on the Big Goose to start things off. A little bit of damage done by Bazzi to help out. Sound barrier for IDK as the Spark are going to try to retake here. It's looking rough. Godsby gets 2 with that Death Blossom. Saving the elf for just the right time. 3 kills from the Reaper and an easy flip back. And the Gladiators, they were so close to finishing this series. The Diva from Void going to try to delay as long as he can here. Try to give some time for the Gladiators to get back on the point. They've got Roar there with the Wrecking Ball. Godsby with the kill on the Roar though, and it's going to be real hard for the Gladiators to get any sort of purchase on the point at this moment, and that is it. The Spark keep themselves alive in the series.
Only wins for the Spark have been on Control, but that's all they've needed. However, now they have to win on map types that they have been shut out on so far.
That's going to be rough, but hey, like we said, one step at a time for the Hangzhou Spark, and they are not done just yet. Map number 6 when we come back.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile.
The Spark just won't go down without a fight. After going down 3-1, Hangzhou comes up with a big win on LeeJong Tower to make it 3-2 at the break. What's up, everybody? Another game break here at the wall. Malik here with Zoe and Sideshow. Guys, Anubis started this whole stretch of the match off, and it was a very tight contest, but the Gladiators look really strong, stronger than you guys were saying at the desk, girl. You guys were giving them a little bit of flack.
Yeah, I honestly felt like they kind of need to, you know, come online. I do feel like the first half, it looked like both teams played a little bit more scrappy, and they needed some time to warm up, and now coming into the second half, they're both frankly turned it up, specifically Gladiators, who look very strong on Anubis.
It was weird as well, actually, when we went into Anubis to see Adora being fielded, because they ended up playing a lot of the Reaper, and it wasn't functionally that much different to the Hangzhou Spark
I mean,
that
maybe
we
they
had
want
seen
to play
before.
some Pharah on attack or something. Maybe that's why they brought in Adora, but yeah, no, it was the same old thing, really.
Yeah, and actually what we saw was the Hangzhou Spark really struggle with the aggression coming out from the LA Gladiators. Many times on the defense, the LA Gladiators like to push their tanks really far aggressive into the Hangzhou Spark, almost throwing shields into their backline and charging forwards. And that just creates so much space for Shore4 and Hydration.
Speaking of Shore4, man, I got to say the Reaper play, top tier. I'll give him my stamp of approval.
Oh man, like, I think at the end of map 3 or at the beginning of map 4 at least, Shore4 combined had more kills than Adora and Bazzi. Godspeed, sorry.
he is playing a ridiculous level of Reaper. He's been very impressive, and the whole team is playing around him and giving him that space to be able to empower him.
Indeed. We saw a little bit more of that Reaper in our next map, Rialto. Was there a lot more of that same strategy from Surefour, him getting behind the back lines, kind of attacking the support?
We saw a bunch of interesting stuff here because it was Decay that was brought in to play alongside Surefour, and then Hydration moved over to the Sigma. So a total new lineup. And actually, judging by the fact that we can currently see Hydration moving into a different C position again, that might be what we're seeing in the, about to be happening in the next map as well. And it's something that we theorized and talked about, but honestly, I didn't think they were going to be making mid-series adjustments. I thought we'd see Hydration either as a DPS or as a Sigma, not being map dependent, but this is exciting.
And frankly, I thought that when they do that, they're actually going to look even more impressive. However, that was the map they actually lost in the end.
Right. Now, going into LeeJong Tower, it looked like that Gladiators were going to send us home early, but the Hangzhou Spark were able to recoup. What were kind of the keys to victory for them in that map?
I think they just played a little bit more patient. Before that, I do feel like they didn't really synergize that well when it came to their ults. I think their ult economy generally didn't look too spot on. I do think they kind of cleaned it up for that last one. And generally, their target calling has been a lot better. I think they just generally played more as a team.
Yeah, the Hangzhou Spark, I think, starting to get to grips with how the LA Gladiators are playing. I think this is a story of adaptation. The Gladiators were making things incredibly scrappy early on in this series, and things have started to iron out a little bit as Spark have figured out a way of alleviating that aggression. You see Gucci using his halts to pull people back as they're going aggressive. Bazzi's having a great game because he's just playing to try and punish Surefour and Hydration, who are constantly getting in the back line. And the later this series goes on, and the more that the Gladiators start to think and get inside their own heads, the more I think they'll be thinking about the fact that they haven't won a playoff series before.
Yeah.
I think this is the kind of thing that...
If you repeat it 10 times very loud, they might hear you.
Well, I'm not that I'm trying to get in their heads, but genuinely,
you did pick the Spark, though.
I want to note that none of the Gladiators fans are smiling at you right now. They're all looking at you with a very sharp stares.
Well, Gladiators would love to prove everybody wrong and show that they can go deep in a playoff bracket like this. And remember, they'll get a second chance, right? Because it's a double elimination. But they don't even want this to go deep in a series. They'd love to finish it.
All right, well, while we're on the subject of the series, the Hangzhou Spark, it seems like they only won control map so far. So how do you think they'll fare in Eichenwald, which is our next map that we're going to be going to?
I mean, I think that also kind of depends on who we're going to be seeing fielded. Eichenwald, I would love to see Adora coming back in. I think Adora had a lot of good games on that map. Also, I do like to count on his Pharah. However, if Godsby is going to stay in, I think it is a valuable map for Widowmakers as well. So, yeah.
I think it's going to come down a lot to how the LA Gladiators work with Decay back in the lineup, because that's what I'm expecting to come out here, because the maps where we've seen a lot of Pharah, that has been the transition that they've made. Right. Interestingly, they don't keep Hydration on the Pharah, but he's a fantastic Pharah. Yeah. But they tend to bring Decay in, and that's what they've been going for. So they need to learn from that loss on Rialto and make the adaptations to be able to win in this series. Otherwise, Gladiators have got it.
All right, well, guys, it is game point. LA Gladiators, they're up 3-2. We'll see if the Hangzhou Spark can bring it back when we come back after the break.
Support your team with the official Overwatch League Coca-Cola bottles at CokeStore.com. Ships to all 50 U.S. states, Washington, D.C., and U.S. P.O. boxes.
Welcome back, guys. We are still here because the Spark is still alive. They managed to win it on Control. That's 2 Control maps now tonight that they've managed to take off the Gladiators. It didn't look smooth, it didn't look clean, but it was effective, right?
Well, somewhat effective.
Yeah, effective enough to win. I mean, what more do you want?
Take those maps, but now here we are again, heading into hybrid. It is once more the Gladiators selection.
Yeah.
So last time we saw this on King's Row, it was a decisive win for the Gladiators, and they've got another shot at it. So
yeah, true enough. Let's take a look at some substitutions before we get into the map. It's going to be Decay subbing in again for Void. So it looks like they're going to make that similar swap that they did earlier.
yeah, they were talking about it at halftime, and I guess this means that they believe that the skill difference between Hydration and Void on Sigma is greater than the difference between Hydration and Decay on Pharah, which is
interesting.
An interesting belief to have. I didn't really notice one way or another, honestly, in the map that they played on Rialto, but they did win, so.
Yeah, and I think Hydration has shown in the past that one of his greatest strengths as a player is his flexibility. You know, not only during the 3-3 meta, but also just in terms of kind of the wackier, one of the wackier damage hero pools that we've seen in the Overwatch League. He's definitely always played some of the heroes that are a little bit less popular.
I mean, last season he was also flexing over to Lucio for certain control points. Yeah. You know, there's been a lot of looks that we've seen from Hydration, and when you see him come into this roster, there are many different positions that he could be playing.
Indeed. So here we are on Eichenwald, our second hybrid map of the series. And it's going to be the Hangzhou Spark on defense. Gladiators will go on the attack first, which is kind of like antithetical to their whole shields up kind of thing, but you know, we'll allow it.
And they named their mascot guy Gladius, so you'd think
that's a sword.
Yeah, it's a sword. So
yeah.
They don't really know what they're doing. From their branding is not cohesive.
You brought this up before. It should have been Parmula.
Parmula is definitely the name you go for.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the name of my like death metal band in high school too. Parmula. Gladiators on the attack. And the standard compositions from both teams as well. The new standard, we should say, as they try to loop their way into the left side building. Surefour, though, just going behind, getting the kill on IDK. You gotta expect the Surefour to be behind you. He is always behind you, but it may not matter here. Bazzi and Godsby picking up kills of their own. Gushway down, though, and Surefour's not done yet, and you gotta keep in mind it's a better respawn for the attackers on this map than it is for the defenders.
Yeah, they're gonna have to go back, too, because right there, Gladiators, nearly a mirror 4v4 versus the Spark, but the difference is with Bebe was still alive, so a lot more healing coming out. You're not going to fight that with the Lucio. Might as well just wait for those faster reinforcements. That's what they do when they're on the point, and Decay has killed IDK immediately again.
IDK died first in both of these fights. There goes Benzi this time. No kills for him, and a real problem for the Spark as they struggle to hold. Gladiators have just got them pinned down, and they're going to bury them with boulders from Hydration. You'd think if Hydration used accretion, he'd just make money. But I'm no scientist.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
You're not a scientist, and you're certainly not a mathematician, as we've learned.
No, definitely not that. No. Math is scary, scary. Math is as scary as Surefour is in Hangzhou Spark's backline.
Wow, that's pretty scary.
Yep, terrifying, in fact. I'm defeated by math the same way that the Hangzhou Spark have been defeated
by Death Blossoms.
Surefour's Death Blossoms, that's right. Rio now Godsby trying his hand at the flank as well, getting onto the cart with a Death Blossom of his own. Surefour gets one, but Godsby gets three. And my math is not so good, but I'm pretty sure 4 is bigger than 1.
There's the last one, too.
I got that one at least.
Hangzhou Spark, the quick cleanup here on Eichenwald B. We're going to start to stabilize with this defense, maintaining that supercharger as well. We'll see a little bit of a delay here, though, to get their Reaper back. Godsby needs some extra time to get back into the
behind you again. Hydration, though, LC manages to escape the ultimate of Rhea. Rhea, though, gets Surefour. Ooh, nice rock from Hydration, actually. Knocks down Bazzi, but it doesn't really matter as Bazzi jumps right back in there.
Activating the barrier.
And now it's a bit of a spawn camp for the Hangzhou Spark for the moment.
Gladiators might have having a pretty good positional advantage at the start of that fight, considering that Godsby wasn't in the best flank to start things out.
Speaking of flank, Surefour trying to get her on the side again. Meanwhile, on board with Hydration as he goes and uses his ultimate. Gravitic Flux coming in, gets 3. Nice damage onto Reaper, forces that Wraith form, and when he comes down, he's going to be pretty vulnerable here. Hydration throws out the shield. That rock would have connected if the target was still alive. And Gladiators finally going to be getting some progress on this payload, it looks like.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Hangzhou Spark took another 90 seconds or so off the time bank through that pretty aggressive B defense.
Maybe his body was going along for the ride there for a moment, but back to spawn. You got to keep in mind, though, that on King's Row, the Spark did prevent the Gladiators from finishing the attack. It was just a really, really good point A defense by Gladiators that won that map. So Spark haven't been totally bad on defense. That said, Decay with an early kill. Just come right back down. Yeah, why not, man? Hydration with the kill on Nebezi, and it's looking good for the Gladiators. Kushui rocked as well by the Coalescence, and shields up as the payload continues to roll.
Yeah, that easy team fight win there at the start. Now the Gladiators are going to be able to go ahead and camp these choke points for a pretty substantial advantage. Hangzhou Spark might have to use the sound barrier just to get onto the payload right now. They're going to try to do it with just a barrier right now, coming around from both sides at once. Stun onto Decay.
Yeah, Rock beats Punch, apparently. Surefour does get the kill on Rhea anyway. Cosby with one onto Shaz, now Decay jumping in to try to make life difficult for the Reaper. Does just that. Death Blossom. Oh no! You don't jump on that! And the Hangzhou Spark get a last-second defense here on B.
Coming through those choke points, the coordination was very good. They poured out of both doors simultaneously and stopped Decay's engage. Ending up with the Rocket Punch for them on cooldown instead.
Right.
Try and play the high ground right now. Play as long as possible. Everybody going through the castle here. Start things off for the Gladiators.
Gladiators trying to storm the castle, pull back into themselves by the Hulk. It's going to be Surefour the Death Blossom as he felt the pressure coming in from the Spark. Rhea got a lot of shields out of that, actually. Bezzy dropping in behind the Gladiators now. Back to his team as the Gladiators decide to take the long way around. Back to the drawbridge they go, and Shaz's Coalescence is going to have to carry them forward. They're going to have the sound barrier and the Gravitic Flux very soon here. All right, meanwhile, Ultimate comes in. Uh-oh, Bebe knocked off the edge. There's Decay down as well. Hydration with the ultimate. Can he turn this one around for his team? It looks like he can with kills on Nebezi and Cosby. It's a good start. There's a rock. Oh, nearly knocked him off the edge.
That's a huge move.
Quite. But IDK gets a big one. Onto Roar, like you mentioned, Monty, and Gladiators on the verge of maybe pushing this one through. IDK down. Can they keep it going? There's a rock avoided by the Wraith form from the Reaper, and Surefour gets one onto Bezzy. So the Gladiators continue to sort of slowly grind their way through the Spark defense, and that might be point B. They got to get rid of IDK. He does get the knockoff onto Roar, but point B taken by LA.
You know, it looked to me like Surefour got booped off there, but I think he shadow stepped back onto the bridge, and that was I think the major play that got them that victory on this attack. Gonna take that point just in time, giving them 2 minutes to work with right here.
And not a lot of time. Honestly, this looking really similar to the Gladiators' attack on King's Row as far as the progress they've been able to make, the defense that Spark has put together, and it's a good start for this one for the Hangzhou Spark as Bazzi gets a kill onto Shaz. Gladiators are going to go for it. 5v6 are popping the sound barrier anyway. They think they can win this one. Can they? Bezzy misses that rocket punch, but Big Goose still in a little bit of trouble. Oh, Surefour, though, with the Death Blossom. They're going to walk forward onto Hangzhou, and they've got the Coalescence to try to keep people healed up. See if it works out. Surefour gets a kill onto Gushui in the meantime, and he's going to go ahead and try to jump into the back lines as well. They know he's there, but it doesn't save Bazzi. He's going to go down anyway. And Spark slowly but surely losing members on the defense. That said, they've stopped the payload for now. It might start to move, but the respawns are going to be there.
Respawns are going to be there, but a lot of ults used there by the Hangzhou Spark. Not going to have any support ultimates. And they're going to have to stall this out somehow.
They've got Godspeed trapped back there too. Manages to get his Wraith form cooldown up just in time. Gladiators trying to finish this one off. 45 seconds on the clock to do it. Hydration, Gravitic Flux, stunned, can't quite use it, down to 0 health, he's out. Gushui with a kill, uppercut to finish him, and now Rio with one onto Surefour. The Spark trying to finish off this defense and give the Gladiators one last chance to complete their attack.
Yeah, they need those respawns. Rest of the Gladiators going to retreat. Are we going to see the same thing as on our last hybrid map, King's Row?
Kind of looking that way, isn't it?
Yeah, the Gladiators barely not able to finish the map, but then they roared back with a full hold on their own defense.
They've got a few ultimates to use here as they go in. It's going to be the Turbo Supercharger from Hangzhou Spark. Sound barrier now for the Gladiators. IDK pops is just a second later. Giving his field of shields for a little bit longer. Gravitic Flux used by both teams. Shabs with the kill on the Coalescence as well. The Gladiators getting the edge in this one, but Hangzhou taking a few names themselves as well. They'll have the respawns, but will they be there fast enough to stop the Gladiators? It's OT again. A very similar situation to King's Row as a Spark finally gets the respawns onto the payload. The damage there from Baby's Coalescence as well. Can they finish it? They haven't been able to finish off Gushui just yet. And now, yes, the Spark are coming in. The Diva is there as well. Surefour eliminates Bebe, but Godspeed's Death Blossom again, not accomplishing a lot. Surefour's got the Death Blossom, and unlike King's Row, the Gladiators able to finish.
And they finish it in overtime, though, Doa, so no guarantee that they get another attack round if the Hangzhou Spark finish with over a minute remaining. But at least they've thrown the gauntlet down on map completion here.
And with as good of a defense that they had on King's Row, you gotta be sweating. If you're the Hangzhou Spark, it's do or die for them when we come back.
Support your team with the official Overwatch League Coca-Cola bottles at CokeStore.com. Ships to all 50 U.S. states, Washington, D.C., and U.S. P.O. boxes.
Hangzhou Spark on the attack, looking for a bit better of a result on Hybrid than they saw in King's Row, but it was kind of a crazy play at the end of point B for the Gladiators.
Surefour managing to save himself off of a boop.
Yeah, look at
see
that.
he got knocked off this bridge. And it's a big part of why they were actually able to even take B was this.
Look at that. Man, that is...
He's able to get back into the fight.
Yeah, that is the Shadow Step buff that has really been one of the big reasons why we see Reaper again.
Yes.
The ability to do that in the air. Yeah, give yourself a hand, Surefour. You deserve it. Gladiators. A defense here means they're moving on in the playoffs. Hangzhou Spark trying to avoid being sent down to the lower bracket. See if they can do that. They managed to barely scrape out a win on LeeJong Tower, but Eichenwald is a different story.
And hopefully we didn't cast or curse them, talking about Gladiators' first ever playoff victory.
That's entirely possible.
On LeeJong. See if they can hold here. Well, Decay gonna send Rhea back to spawn, post haste.
That's her curse avoided so far. You can't move forward without that Sigma. Now Spark is trying to not lose more, but they're going to lose Bezzy anyway. They do get the kill and Roar. All right, that's actually kind of shocking.
That's actually really bad for them because they need Roar's barrier on the point to contest. So Hangzhou basically has a free approach right now, the ability to get the barrier advantage on the objective. They had to send Big Goose all the way back to get the speed boost. They're going to give up ticks here regardless. It's not good for the Gladiators. Now they have to re-engage.
I'd love to know how Godspeed actually managed to find that kill. Under Roar, that's kind of crazy. Bezzy, meanwhile, oh, hydration does not last long. Back was turned, and the fist came in. Godsby, meanwhile, gets behind the Gladiators. Trying to do a little bit more damage. They've taken out Decay already. Gushui down as well. Oh, Bezzy with a kill in the shadows. The Spark on the verge of getting a very fast point A, and they need it.
Roar dying is, your Orisa dying in this meta is the worst thing that can happen to you.
Yeah.
Because she is both slow coming off the respawn, and you don't have a lot of staying power on the point without the Orisa there, right? The Doombist is a major threat to you if you don't have that fortified Orisa, and you can't really contest. So Gladiators did what they could. They backed off until the Orisa gets back, but it's kind of a disaster. They were in a low percentage situation for a victory, and that team by Godsby also gonna go ahead and murder Surefour from behind.
Had no idea, man. That was a true assassin Reaper there, and Hangzhou Spark winning a great defensive fight here. Roar down as well, and yeah. Like you said, man, you need that Orisa. It's like having the ice cream cone without the cone. If the cone's not there, you just melt.
That's a good analogy, Noah. It's a good analogy. Unless you can eat it fast enough, right?
True.
Which
Well,
is also continues the good analogy.
It's going to be messy either way. Yeah. I like how when Sigma uses his kinetic grasp, his absorb, he just kind of yells a little bit. In the end, it was kind of sad. That direction being like, "Ah!" You knew it was coming. Can avoid it. Meanwhile, Gravitic Flux Storm, Rhea going to be the sound barrier for Big Goose as they try to stay alive. Rhea doesn't hit with the rock, but they are down on the payload. Meanwhile, Roar's Supercharger out of commission. Surefour trying to knock her off the high ground. They get him with the rock as well. Surefour goes in for the kill, but the kinetic grasp there for the shields. Bezzy, meanwhile, gets 3. And this has been a very fast attack for Spark. What is going on?
Uh-oh. Is this the turnaround, though? Is this the start of it for the Spark here? Because they are looking good with 3.5 minutes remaining. And remember, if they finish with over a minute, there's not even going to be an attack round for the Gladiators. The best they can do is draw.
All right, it's a Garden of Death Blossoms, but Surefour is not going to grow as much as Godsby. Meanwhile, he Wraith forms away to safety. Decay with 2 on the Meteor Strike. The Gladiators not done yet.
That Coalescence will be there, but the immediate damage from the Meteor Strike, too much for the tanks to handle. Surefour is spinning to win on the payload.
That's right. Okay, with another one onto Bezzy, so Spark so close to finishing point B, but the momentum has finally been stalled.
However, we're going to see an interesting fight. There aren't going to be ults at the start of this next engagement, so potential for a pick is really huge on either side.
Ult cost across the board was increased by 12% in the last big patch, so we are going to see just less ult in general in Overwatch. And
more neutral engagements for sure.
I am personally fine with that.
Me too.
That's right. All right, Spark trying to take the high ground now over to the drawbridge. You got to be really careful not to get yoinked off the edge here, just like that. That's the danger. Doesn't end up working out, but Surefour, oh, he's gonna go down. Bezzy with a kill there. Oh, Bezzy! Oh, I can't believe he stayed on. That was more alarming than your average Mario Brothers level. It's terrifying. Hydration down, and Spark winning the fight at the end of B. And they're gonna keep this thing going, and they're gonna have a good amount of time on point C as well.
Oh, yes, they are, Doa. They're gonna finish. Over 3 minutes remaining right now. 2 minutes until they hit that point where the Gladiators are actually going to have a chance here for another attack.
Oh,
Godsby going to start it off with an excellent elimination onto Hydration. Looked like he was split spawned there.
That's rough, man. You don't want to lose a tank early on like that. It's just going to take longer for the Gladiators to set up again. And the Spark really close to setting a great time and giving themselves a chance to win the map. A single tick take on point A, but they gotta finish, and they gotta finish with time in the time bank, and that's not gonna help.
They are stabilizing right now.
Well, they're trying, but the respawn better for the Gladiators. Yep, there goes Gushui and Bebe. So Hangzhou Spark set back to spawn. They still have nearly 2.5 minutes remaining.
Spark retained many of their ultimates. They only used the Coalescence. Gonna be coming back with 5. Much bigger commitment there from the Gladiators. It's Hangzhou Spark's opportunity. They only really need to win 1 fight, and then they'll just be able to pick off any respawns coming in from Los Angeles.
That's the plan. A lot of ultimates for Spark. Here we go, it's gonna be Gravitic. Flux from Hydration preemptively, gets stunned out of it though. That's a big one. Hydration trying to do work, and now it's gonna be Rhea. They're gonna pair it with the sound barrier. Bazzi gets one as well, and the Spark carving through the LA Gladiators, cleaving through the shield, and that payload's gonna get some progress.
This definitely is. Now, can they stall it out? We've seen some great stalls from the Gladiators so far in this series.
Yeah, we sure have. We've seen some amazing stuff from them defensively at the very end, at the very last minute like this. And there it starts. Bazzi down, Shaz with the kill there. Roar in trouble though as the Spark try to equalize this. Both teams have the Moira ultimate firing away. And now Surefour with the Death Blossom just separating the Spark, trying to prevent the team members from coalescing there. A better turn.
Just need to stay on the payload, though. They have to force the Spark really to engage right now. The spawn advantage is there. Bezzy's starting to get some limbs.
Yeah, he came back, got a kill onto Decay. Now Gosby with one on the big boost. Hydration again, using the shields to stay on the point. Roar is out though, and now the Gladiators losing members fast. That payload is gonna move, and still time in the time bank. If the Spark can finish it, they're gonna have a great chance to win this map. They're at least gonna achieve a draw. Can they stay alive? Gosby with the Death Blossom at the end. Oh, and Roar is right there. Can they kill Hydration? He doesn't even get there. 136 in the time bank. It's gonna be a minute for the Gladiators, it looks like.
Yep, that's it. I mean, they finished under a minute, so we are going to see the Gladiators get another opportunity for an attack here.
That's big.
Just barely missing out.
Man.
So the hold is enough to keep the Gladiators in a position where they can close out this series.
Yep, Spark not quite getting that minimum draw. We'll see, though, in extra innings, who comes out with the win. Getting tense here on Eichenwald. 1 minute for the LA Gladiators, a minute 36 for Hangzhou Spark, who were unable to get the payload across the line before the minute mark happened, and that gives the Gladiators one more chance to attack. We'll see what they can get done.
Not a lot of time, and remember, if we draw on this map, it will still be match point for the Gladiators. Hangzhou will still be in need of 2 more map victories, potentially again sending us to the map 8 that we saw last week between London and Shanghai in the play-ins.
It's a first to 4. See what happens. Hydration. A little bit low. All right, Decay with a kill on Bezzy. That's a good start for the Gladiators on their attack here. That's 6v5, but Surefour drops as well. The equalization happens. The rock goes into the shield as well from Hydration to get that stun. Spark, though, falling back to the payload. Decay's going to get back there a little bit quicker. Surefour, that is going to get back there a little bit quicker.
Right now, we did see Bezzy come back. He's on the Doomfist, so high mobility.
Yep.
Back into the mix. Gladiators waiting for that opportunity. Bezzy going to get stunned out in the front line, but
stunned
Decay
out of his
falls.
rocket punch. Oh boy, Big Goose and Decay both down. And the Spark, they are holding, and there's only 5 seconds remaining. They might just be able to do it right here, right now. No ultimates available. Surefour drops. He's not going to get that big team fight win that his team has relied on all night. And the Spark, they are going to hold here.
Now the
gonna take a miracle.
Yeah, that miracle's not going to come.
I think so, yeah. Oh, Gosby with a celebration Death Blossom at the end, and that will be a full hold for the Hangzhou Spark.
And now, Doe, the question is, are we going to 7 maps, or are we going to more than 7 maps?
You never know.
Because we are now guaranteed at least a draw.
Yes.
So Spark have a chance with their minute and 36 seconds to make a push here and take the win on Eichenwald, which would settle things on map 7 for us.
Right. They only need that first tick to do it. You can see the demeanor of the Spark have changed a bit in these last couple maps. Starting to kind of find their groove, it seems like. Getting the win on LeeJong Tower, reigniting that motivation.
Gladiators fans sweating.
Yeah.
They've seen this before in playoffs.
I was going to say, yeah. We've seen the Gladiators have a good start and then not quite be able to handle it at the end. And you know, this year's a little bit different. If they lose today, they still have a chance in the lower bracket. Same goes for Hangzhou Spark, but I think if I were the Gladiators, I'd start to get a little bit nervous here.
Yeah, Hangzhou, they'd love to just win this so we can go ahead and decide this series on the next map instead of them having to win that one and then another one after that as well.
Yep.
Big opportunity here, but only 36 more seconds to do what the Gladiators couldn't do. But they know they only have to take that one tick.
Got a little bit more time than the Gladiators had. 1:36 on the time bank as the Spark roll out here on Eichenwald. Just needing that first third of the control meter on point A.
No funny business, no crazy strategies. Hangzhou Spark gonna be confident. Taking this mirror, nice punch back, making some space here to walk up.
A decent rocket punch on the hydration. A little bit of damage done, but healed up quickly.
It's a slow roll right now onto the point for the Hangzhou Spark, taking cover behind broken tank there.
You can win one fight decisively. Oh, and there we go! Decay and Big Goose both down, and the Spark, I'd say that's it. I don't think Hydration's gonna come back and win the 1v5. No, he's not. And the Spark smack down the Gladiators and tie up this series 3-3.
Oh boy, this is getting really exciting, Doa. The Spark now are sending us to that game 7 where this series is going to be decided.
It's getting a little bit crazy here, guys. Do not go anywhere. Our playoffs are so good, man. Map number 7 when we come back.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7.
And by Omen, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
I love it. It's playoffs, and we are tied up 3-3 between the Hangzhou Spark and the LA Gladiators. The Gladiators looking like they were about to close it out on LeeJong Tower. The Spark said no, and then they came back, made it 2 in a row with a win on Eichenwald. And now this is giving us a very exciting map 7.
Yeah, don't forget when the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead, right, Doa? So
you never know, man. I mean, it happens, right?
Yeah, Warriors, Gladiators, similar, and I hate to revisit this, Gladiators fans, but
oh, you love to revisit this. Come on, don't lie to us, Monty.
I do. The salt in the wound is what I love the most.
It doesn't matter who you're a fan of. If Monty can make you sad.
Yeah, the Schadenfreude is what I live for.
It brings him joy. It brings him joy. I don't condone this, but I've gotten used to it.
That's right. You become numb to it.
I've
over
become
the years.
desensitized to it at this point. Yep. We can laugh about it now. It's great. We got some substitutions coming in for this epic map 7. It's going to be hydration, swapping, not really substituting, but more just swapping back over to the damage roll. That's right. As we have seen twice already in this series. And Void back in at the tank roll.
Indeed. So no more decay here, which means we're going back to the Sigma from Void. And of course, the Doomfist from Hydration.
Right.
What is our last map going to be? It will be Gladiators.
I wonder.
Pick. Yeah. They did pick Eichenwald and they lost that. There have been a lot of map losses when teams have picked maps so far tonight.
Look at this, though. What a crazy series we've had. Busan goes to the Spark. Then it's 3 wins in a row for the Gladiators. LeeJong and Eichenwald go to the Spark again, and now the Gladiators have a selected Watchpoint Gibraltar for our escort map. And there's really no tying on escort maps. I've seen it. I have seen it happen, but it's only if neither team moves the payload can you get a draw, or like a absolutely insane situation where they both move it the exact same amount.
Also, because it's Gibraltar, literally no one is going to defend at the start of point A.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
we're guaranteed not to have that draw. Had it been Route 66, there would have been like, or a map like that,
There's
there would have been
slim
a minor chance that would have happened.
I had a ladder game. I think you might have even been in that one, where it happened in Junkertown, where we had a draw in Junkertown.
Nobody's going to be so bold, I think.
Many
here.
people were Bastion killed that.
We're here on Gibraltar, and so we are not going to get that draw, and that's why I said the last map, because it's escort. As long as Spark won, and this series was going to be decided here in map 7.
That's right.
And we can't have a draw anymore.
Nope, Gladiators on the attack. That's it. It's going to be the last map in the series. See how far the Gladiators can go. The damage flying back and forth already, and it's going to be both teams losing members on board with Hydration as he backs up, gives the Spark a little bit more room to maneuver. Spark on defense, though, so the Gladiators, between the Spark and a hard place. Roar and Void, though, counteract this now, and Spark, the ones having to regroup for a late point A defense.
All right, that's what you want to do if you're the Spark. Now, you lost your Moira, so you need to go in because your primary form of sustain is now missing, and they have the spawn advantage. So really favorable trade to trade your Reaper for the Moira if you are the Los Angeles Gladiators. Not just because of the spawn distance, but because it forces the Hangzhou Spark to play really aggressively to get more picks because they can't fight a sustained battle without that heal.
Yeah, sure. Last defense on point A for the Spark. Look at the ultimate economy, about even for both teams. Hydration, just jumps through the team, doesn't connect with anybody, but now Bebe down. Takes a knuckle shot, and he's out. Nice right click on the Bezzy, loads that one up, and another one, Hydration. Getting a lot of finishing blows here at the end of point A, and Spark unable to really come up with anything of their own. One unsure for at the end, but that's point A taken by the Gladiators already.
Yep, pretty fast, point A. And now Gladiators also going to be trying to find some of these split spawns. They're going to get anything. Right now, Bebe is hiding underneath, has to fade back to the rest of his team, but they're not going to be able to punish any of those forward spawns. Hangzhou Spark getting a bit lucky right there.
Yeah. Coalescence available for Shaz, going to use it right away as they try to capitalize on the fact that Bebe does not have his. As he's looking for a place to drop, going to go down right in front of the Reaper up to the high ground to try to stay safe, but it doesn't matter. His entire team is dead. And that payload's going to keep moving forward.
I mean, the Meteor Strike just caused the Doomfist to go missing for that entire fight. And by the time he selected a target, it was Surefour who had Wraith form up. So, Gladiators are fighting a 6 versus 5, and you get no damage done, and you have no pick potential. Well, your Doomfist is in outer space.
Well, that is the thing. Do you think he actually goes to outer space?
Probably.
How does he breathe?
Well, he's not up there for very long.
I suppose he just holds his breath. Why not? Bazzi gets a couple here as Hangzhou Spark starts to put together a little bit of a defense. Surefour, though, and Shaz want to change all that. Death Blossom, he's going to go ahead and use it. Stunned out of it, though. Not this time, Surefour. The Spark able to get a defensive win, finally. And get a little bit of breathing room on this payload.
The first teamfight win so far here on their Gibraltar defense. Comes at the right time, though, and especially because of their ult economy. I mean, look at this. They're going to have 5 ults. So now they'll have the best chance to stabilize. They've got the high ground on B.
So
probably going to be feeling pretty good.
If Doomfist does go to space, why doesn't he just take the satellite into orbit? What's the point of this map then?
Well, he's not part of Overwatch, so I don't think he would be the one taking that
true.
satellite up.
Well, why doesn't he just go up and punch it out of the sky though?
Maybe he does.
Does. That's what he does, punching satellites. Why not? Here we go. The fight has commenced. It's gonna be sound barrier for both sides. Bezzy with an early one on his Surefour. Coalesces Flyance all over the place, and Hydration down. So Spark doing okay so far. Godsby picks up one, looking for another one here, saving that Death Blossom too. So the Spark starting to win fights, but more importantly, starting to win fights efficiently.
Yeah, looking good here. As fast as that push was from the Gladiators there, this is a hard position to be on Gibraltar, which is when you stall out late on B, because you're playing through these 4 tiny little choke points. Really hard to get in without taking a bunch of damage or straight up dying.
Yep. Oh, Reaper v Reaper. Godsby still sitting on that Death Blossom. Now he's going to go ahead and use it. The kill's already coming in for the Spark, and that's another occasion where one ultimate leads to a win, and Big Goose, can they maybe take him down?
Well, that's how you play it, though.
Nope.
You know they're coming through those choke points. Godsby was already there. He gets the drop because they don't check the corner, so he forces the first Wraith form, sees Surefour come out of Wraith form, and then has an excellent chance to use the Death Blossom behind an Orisa barrier.
And I will say, on these payload maps, we have seen the Spark look good on defense for the most part. They've either stopped the Gladiators completely or taken them more or less to overtime. A lot of these pushes. Fight again. The Gladiators have to burn some ultimates here. Gravitiflux being lined up. Void. Not really able to find a good one, I don't think. We'll see. Hydration gets a kill to Bebe anyway. That's a rock coming in, and now Spark starting to lose members. Gladiators finally finding the fights that they need to take point A, but it's cost them a lot of ultimates, and Spark looks like they're just going to save theirs. Why not, man? They burned a lot of time off the time bank on B.
I think it's a major win, especially with how fast A went in the first part of B for the Hangzhou Spark to stall out for this long.
Yeah.
You held them to under 3 minutes on the long point on C. You're coming in with an ult economy.
That's bold.
Where'd
Rhea?
I think he had to reset.
Split spawn, probably.
Yeah, I think he reset after the split spawn.
Yep.
So now some free payload movement, but there is going to be a Reaper deep in enemy territory. Godsby is behind the payload right now, looking for that chance to get the pincer.
Yeah, actually being the sneaky Reaper.
He's gonna have a good chance to just teleport in.
Yep.
Here we go.
Teleports in onto the payload. Stops the payload completely. Oh, but the Gladiators going aggressive. They don't see the Reaper there, and they take the opportunity.
Yes. And that's another good call. We've seen this same shot call from the Gladiators time and time again, where they're counting people very fast and they're understanding that if there isn't a Reaper, because the Spark have overemphasized the flank, they no longer have that mind game. Because in the Gladiators' heads right now, is the Reaper there? No. Then he's trying to flank us right now, so we have a very small time window just to engage on the front line. And because the Hangzhou Spark haven't varied their strategy, it's just working for free.
Absolutely right. Hydration getting in the back lines now. Here comes the Meteor Strike. Ultimates getting used from both sides. Bazzi right on top of maybe. No, avoids it this time. Hydration with 2 though. Gets both supports and 1 Meteor Strike. That is huge. The sound barrier doing nothing for the Hangzhou Spark, and the Gladiators on the verge of finishing this push. Might get it right here.
Got some decent value though. They killed the Reaper. So Surefour is down. Can they get it? Gonna try and stall now with the Wrecking Ball. Looks like it's not gonna be a stall here for the Spark.
Yeah, not much of one anyway, as it is only the Wrecking Ball on the payload right now. They're gonna be able to get in just barely with the Reinhardt and the Reaper, actually. Gushue swapping over, Hydration down, so Bezzy maybe opening something up here. Godsby taken out, and Surefour just on the payload with that Death Blossom, gets one into Bezzy anyway, and the Spark trying to defend, but they just can't get the kills in the end, it seems. It takes a while. The Wrecking Ball down, 42 seconds on the clock. The Gladiators finish.
Could have been a really fast map for the Gladiators, but fortunately for the Spark, they had some solid defenses in B. The Gladiators are reading them really well right now, and if you're the Spark, you have to make in-game tactical adaptations.
Right.
You know, you can't always just have your Reaper on the flank and think that the Gladiators aren't going to punish you for that.
Let's check out this Hydration 2K from the end. IDK is like, all right, got a sound barrier. No!
Great timing. Excellent timing on that.
Yeah. That is probably one of the best Doomfist ults we've seen today.
And there have been a lot of good ones because the synergy between Sigma and Doomfist, the Sigma ultimate gives you time to channel the Doomfist ult. So you are going to see a lot of very deadly combos between those two heroes throughout these playoffs.
Yep. And now it's going to be the Sparks' turn to go on the attack. The Gladiators get the finish. Less than a minute remaining, but a finish is a finish. As long as you do it a little bit of time remaining, that always does make things a bit easier in the end. Looks like we might actually see a Symmetra defense from the Gladiators. Interesting. Or is he going to just move some people to the high ground?
It's a trick defense.
Yeah, I was going to say. Move some people over there, get the swap, and he's going to come back in on the Doomfist, who can make a lot of progress quickly. So
remember when I joked about how nobody ever tries to play an aggressive A defense on Gibraltar?
Yeah, well, here we go. Spark, and they're not going to be able to check that with a Hangzhou Sonic Air or anything either. Not going to use it. Roar, just sitting there with this shield. They know what's up. So the Spark, how are they going to break this now? That's the question. Hydration waiting. He can get back behind the tanks. That's exactly what he's going to do. Nice rock. The accretion stuns him out. And that is what they have been doing all day, man. Ryu was ready for him, but can they win the fight? That's the question here. As he loads up the rocket punch, not quite able to connect with anyone on that one, but the Gladiators, you know, down their Doomfist. That's going to be a bit of a problem. People push back towards the Hangzhou spawn. At this point, there goes Big Goose. So slowly, they're starting to eliminate the members of the Gladiators. Punches the tank off the payload there. As he's still doing work. Oh, ready for hydration again. Those rocket punches denied 2 times in a row. As he tried to engage, a Spark. Not phased by the aggressive defense for the Gladiators.
But they got almost a minute off the clock before the payload even moved, Doa. So, I mean, is that a win? We're going to find out how many team fights they're going to get. Because if they can get a team fight just on the other side of Car Wash here, and they might be able to get another one at the end of the point, then you're going to see some really good value for that stall.
All right. They're going to get at least that one at the top of the hill. Here, Big Goose. Meanwhile, getting in there, pushes Godsby away from his team. Bezzy a little bit low. Meteor Strike coming in. Shaz, Coalescence. Here we go. Roar can't take the heat. Meanwhile, Hydration, Surefour, the DPS players of the Gladiators carrying the team to a defensive win here. 2:20 on the clock now for the Spark.
And they're definitely going to get a couple more chances at a defense here. So this bold play from the Gladiators is going to end up being pretty successful, even if the Spark take this point, simply because of the amount of time they've eliminated from the clock.
That's the best case scenario for the Gladiators. It's like you said, that early defense meant they get not just one more, but now, you know, potentially way more than that.
Yeah. Especially with the payload sliding backwards right here, depending on, you know, who dies and when. It's a possibility they can respawn and come back. Oh, man.
Oh, I mean, the high ground was taken here, and that might be a problem for the Gladiators. Godsby not getting really too much done. His teammates, meanwhile, a lot of kills on the Gladiators here, and that was just some great maneuvering by the Spark to turn this into a defensive fight in their favor with the high ground.
And here's the big question, though. Are they going to get through these doors in time to stall this payload and force another fight? Because that means at that point, A defense has some value, and it looks like they're not quite going to get it. Oh, they're going to go for it.
One more fight from the Gladiators. They're going to try it here. Roar to the point. There's a sound barrier, though. They get that out. That's a win for Gladiators already. Big Goose does fall. Hydration. Can't really get much done. Roar's going to drop eventually here. Chaz did get the kill on the Bazzi, though, and Void coming back on this one. I don't know, man. It just seems like a little bit too much for the Gladiators.
Sound barrier's there.
Too soon. They did get the sound barrier at the last moment from Big Goose. And can they push the Spark back? They've done it. What a defense for the Gladiators, and they've been doing that all day.
Wow. Talk about knowing your limits from the Gladiators on Rialto. They had an epic defense. They're still going on this one. Surefour's going to come in. Death Blossom up soon.
Quick regroup from the Spark, and they're back in there. Going to try to draw more ultimates out from the Gladiators. Surefour with the Death Blossom grabs 2, and the Gladiators now, they've got the defense wrapped up, and that is some incredible stopping from the Gladiators there.
I mean, you look at the Rialto, you look at this one, stunning defenses from the Gladiators, fully justifying that very aggressive A defense. Now Gladiators on the cusp of taking this series. Hangzhou Spark, they've got this fight, and only this fight, 10 seconds Gotta get a big Death Blossom here. Something has to work for them. Godsby gonna try and teleport in.
It is win or go to the lower bracket. Godsby's Death Blossom is going to try to keep them alive in this series. Can they possibly do it? Death Blossom comes in, Surefour the one, getting the kills though. Meanwhile, Void, all right, gets some damage done with his ultimate. Surefour down, the Spark trying to win this fight. The map wouldn't be over in their favor, but they'd get to keep pushing at least. Hydration taken
Big
out.
slam.
That's a big gravitic flux, and that's some big damage coming in for the Spark. They're gonna take a.
Oh, boy.
They are not done yet.
So close. They get 2.5 more minutes, but they must finish this map still.
Well, you're gonna have so little time on point C. You need to be basically untouched through B to really have any hope of staying in this one.
Yeah, you definitely do. But at least they have high ground control. They didn't get any split spawns. They're not going to have that edge, and actually it looks like high ground will be ceded to the Gladiators. Here we go.
We'll see, man. Shaz coming in the back. It's going to be the sound barrier early. That's going to lead to a kill on Hydration. Spark just a bit too durable here. And now Godsby going after the tanks in the back line. He caught Void with his back turn, but the damage not enough quite yet. Meteor Strike comes in. Godsby with a kill on Void in the meantime. On board with the Reaper for the Spark right now. Oh, but Shaz turns it around with a 2K on the Coalescence. For a bit more, Bezzy's still in the fight, and he's going to equalize onto Hydration. Gladiators trading blows, but it looks like it's going to be LA. Might have to regroup here. Yeah, backing away.
They are
allowing a bit more distance.
They are, but it's a 5 versus 3, and Doomfist is back. So now it's going to be the Spark that are going to get their members for free through the choke, but they did technically lose that team fight.
Yep. All right. Death Blossom gets used by Surefour, and hey, you know what? That's a lot of damage to capitalize on. The Spark gonna have to regroup, and they're only gonna have a minute after this.
Another Reaper flank that was punished. The time the Godsby spent attempting to get into that back line. Gladiators see the opportunity again. Supercharger into Death Blossom to devastate the Spark front line.
Yeah, the strategic agility that the Gladiators have in terms of pulling the trigger real fast, like you said, when they see they've got the man advantage.
I mean, the Spark have made themselves easy to read.
They really have. They've had a game plan coming in this one, but they can't adjust on it. Hydration, though, they've been good at stopping him. Gets out barely with that Meteor Strike. Gets a little bit of shield when he comes down here. And Bebe down. Hydration finds a kill in the end anyway. Down to 25 seconds. It is getting grim for the Hangzhou Spark. It was a long shot, but it's getting even longer. That said, a kill on Void. They lose IDK, though, and Gladiators trying to stay in this fight with the sound barrier. They're going to do it. And it's 10 seconds for the Spark. I don't even know if Hangzhou's going to get another fight here. Can anyone even get back to the payload?
Morio's going to have to fade onto it.
Yeah, Bebe going to fade, immediately going to get halted out and killed. And overtime barely started by Bebe's efforts there. It's going to be the Wrecking Ball. Rhea back on the payload right now, but it's never going to be a 6v6 again for the Spark. That said, they got a kill onto Hydration, but Bezzy down right after that. Surefour trying to seal this one away, trying to get the win for the Gladiators, and he's going to help them do just that. It's only the Coalescence from Baby to contend with, and that's it. The Gladiators have won their first playoff match.
It was a nail biter, Doha. The Spark made it real. Gladiators went up 3-1. Spark pulled it back to Game 7, but finally, the Gladiators will taste victory in the playoffs.
It's not over yet for the Spark. They're going to that lower bracket, but it's got to feel good for the fans, for the players, for the Gladiators organization, no doubt. It got a little bit scary at the end there, I'm not going to lie. I was doubting. I was doubting.
Those Gladiators fans look really relieved.
No kidding. Man, a few dozen heart attacks down there for sure. Yeah, but a good showing from the Gladiators overall, and you got to really respect the raw power. You can see Surefour giving some love to the DPS on the Spark there. I mean, you got to respect the raw power of the scrappiness of the Hangzhou Spark. They may not be as able to adapt on the fly in matches, but there's a lot of raw skill on that team.
Yeah, and they also didn't get rattled by nearly getting eliminated.
That's right. So let's take a look at our player of the match, brought to you by Omen. Let's see who gets it today. It's going to be Surefour, well-deserved on that Reaper. Of course, just being so aggressive, getting in there with the Death Blossom. Credit to his team, too, for keeping him alive during all of that as well.
Yeah, really well done by Surefour today.
Yeah.
We came in with You know, no real questions about his Reaper play. He was the highest damage per 10 out of all Reaper players in this league.
That's right.
And
121 final blows, man.
Pretty good. 59 Death Blossom kills. That doesn't happen very often over the course of a map. But the Gladiators realized that there were so many resources going into shutting down the Doomfist that they got a lot of basically just free Death Blossom.
Well, hey, when you're in a meta where there's no defense matrix, there's no transcendence, there's a lot more opportunities for that Death Blossom damage to get in there. And Surefour has kind of led the way in terms of Reapers that managed to put themselves in the right place at the right time to do that. And speaking of Surefour, he's waiting, standing by with Mecha to give us some thoughts on that match.
Thanks, guys. I am down here with Surefour. Congratulations. That's right, everybody. Give it up. So the broadcast today was talking about how you guys have not won a playoff series, but today you have pulled it off. Do you feel like a curse has kind of been broken?
I don't think we were like cursed, but you know, maybe we just, you know, mess up, or we finally got the team cohesion we needed, and I think that kind of showed today. I think after this 5th map, the Spark really like found out to just go like really aggressive on us, so they switched styles, and then we had to switch styles, and then switch styles, but we just happened to take it on Gibraltar. I think Bozzy's Doomfist was insane, really good, and yeah.
Well, congratulations. Even though you don't think it was a curse, now it's officially broken, the curse or not. And next up, you guys will be going up against the Vancouver Titans. And last time you faced off, it was a pretty one-sided match, but that was a completely different meta, completely different stage. Who do you think has the upper hand in this current meta?
I think it'll be hard to tell. I think if they're playing the way we think the game should be played, then it'll be pretty even. But if they're a little bit behind on how you need to be doing things, I think we're going to have a pretty big edge.
Well, I look forward to seeing it. And we have, hold on. Got it, yeah, we got it. We have a special fan coming over here with a signed jersey. Why don't you hand it over to him? That's a sweet shield, man. Give him a hug. This has been the tradition. There it is. That's adorable. I love it. Monty, back to you.
Great job. I love those glasses. That's the best part. Thank you, Mecha. You've got glasses that say Surefour, Decay. That's awesome.
I thought the best part was the Parmula he was carrying.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually got the shield.
Yeah.
Not that Gladiator stuff, man. Shield. It's all about the Parmula.
It's all about the Parmula.
As the kids say these days. That's right. So meanwhile, we've got Emily standing by with Gushue to get some thoughts from the other side, the Hangzhou Spark side. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Thanks, guys. I'm backstage here with Gushue of the Hangzhou Spark. Hey, Surefour, you can join if you want. Now, I was actually just kidding, but I just want to know, Gushue, how are you feeling right now? I mean, you guys are actually the last remaining Chinese team, but you know, what are your thoughts going into today's match? 那么你们现在是唯一的中国队当中剩下的中国队伍嘛？所以你简单描述一下现在的心情，然后简单总结一下今天的比赛哪里的发挥没到位。
进入季后赛我们很开心，而且今天比赛主要我们先赢了第一张图嘛，然后后面开始连败了，然后队伍士气有点低落了，然后后面到LeeJong Tower赢了1小分，大家士气都上来了，然后慢慢，然后后面就开始都打好了，但后面就有点可惜了。
First of all, I'm really honored to be in playoffs, and we did really well at first, and then we just lost 2 consecutive maps, and after that, I think our mentality just decreased, but we're gonna do better and try to win the next match. Now, you guys do have a chance to redeem yourself, and you guys will be playing Seoul next. So what kind of adjustments will you make to make sure that Seoul bows down? 这周末呢，你们还会有机会证明自己，所以进入首尔这场比赛，你们都会做哪些调整呢？
主要版本更新，我们队伍适应的有点慢嘛，因为最近才适应过来。但我觉得12到周末打12的时候，我们肯定会赢的。
So we were a little bit slow to adjust to this new meta, but we're doing better, and we do think we're gonna beat Seoul. That's all I have for you guys. Monty and Doa, back to you.
All right, thank you, Emily. Some thoughts from Gushue there, and a special guest appearance by Surefour as well. Always nice to see. It'd been a long time. So, as you can see, the Titans will face off against the Gladiators on Sunday. That is going to be a great series, too.
Yeah, and tomorrow, of course, we'll have our winners bracket quarterfinals on the other side.
That's right. Meanwhile, it's going to be Seoul Dynasty versus Spark as our first match in the lower bracket.
Yeah, one team will be going home after that, and we will see that on Saturday. So exciting times, both Dynasty and Spark, putting in pretty good efforts despite both losing. So
yeah, I mean, we had two pretty tight series overall today. I think this whole playoffs is going to be just that. I tweeted it earlier. I don't think we're going to have any one-sided matches in the entire playoffs. We almost did, but Spark brought it back. Either way, it's going to be a great set of games, and it's going to be a great watch point as well. So don't go anywhere, guys. That's coming up. See you for more Overwatch action later.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile.
And by Toyota, official North American partner of the Overwatch League. Toyota, let's go places.